Put your best fat guy in a suit.
Bring me your fatties. That's what the conferences say.
The Connor Happer Show, weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Funplex Water Park and Rides from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
A beautiful summer day ahead on Wednesday. Expect mostly sunny skies with a light northeast breeze. Less muggy, too, with highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning. If you are an early riser, hope your Wednesday is off to a tremendous start. Right now in the metro, no accidents causing delays. Some updates on the roadwork that's been happening on Dodge. Right now, 90th to 96th, all lanes are open westbound. Eastbound at 81st in Dodge, the right lane is closed. And at 72nd in Dodge, there is lane restrictions all directions, so there will be delays there. As always, I will get updates to you. Just stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Someone just won a beautiful new red truck playing Trucks and Bucks. So there are only 4 trucks left out there. Get yourself to a Nebraska Lottery retailer, buy a ticket, and play today. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
Worried about damage from the recent storms? J-Tech Construction is a local company you can count on to make your home right again. We are the official exterior experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction's team of experts can help you with your insurance restoration process. Turn to who the Huskers turn to and call 402-261-3682 today for your free assessment. Whether it's hail, wind, or just time for an update, J-Tech Construction's team is the trained local solution you can count on. Call 402-261-3682 today.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade after an offseason filled with unsuccessful attempts to reach a long-term contract extension, according to NFL Network insider Mike Garafolo. Ayuk, who's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, along with his career-best year in 2023, is set to earn just over $14 million in the final year of his rookie contract this season. The 2024 number 1 overall pick is signed, sealed, and delivered. Bears quarterback Caleb Williams agreed to a 4-year, $39.9 million fully guaranteed contract, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. Meantime, the Bears' 9th overall pick, wide receiver Rome Odunze, also agreed to his 4-year contract worth $22.7 million fully guaranteed, according to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. The Bears rookies reported to training camp Tuesday. The veterans report on Friday this week. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio.
They say health is wealth, and I could not agree more. That's why if you or somebody in your life is living with everyday aches and pains, I want to tell you about Relief Factor. And I'm telling you, I can feel the difference. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that helps fight pain naturally. Naturally. Now that's a big deal. Developed by doctors. Relief Factor's unique formula of ingredients all work together to help support your body's response to inflammation. Instead of masking pain for a couple of hours, Relief Factor actually helps reduce or even eliminate your pain for good. Whether it's neck, back, joint, or muscle pain, if you're looking to feel better, live better, give Relief Factor a try. In 3 weeks, you will know if it's working because you'll feel it. For instance, I was sent Relief Factor to try, and I've been taking it every single day. I'll tell you what, I feel the difference every day. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Save on your first order. Don't let pain tell you how to live. Fight back naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or
Chaser fans, assemble. Join the Omaha Stormchasers at Werner Park for our Marvel Defenders of the Diamond Night on Saturday, August 10th. There will be Marvel character appearances and Marvel-inspired jerseys that will be auctioned off during the game. The first 1,000 fans will also receive an exclusive Cape flag. Get your Marvel costumes ready and go to OmahaStormchasers.com for tickets today.
Omaha Stormchasers family. Everyone get on your feet, stir up the storm, we're family.
There's a new tomorrow on the other side of the horizon. There are promises to honor, work that needs to be done, friendships to enjoy, and people that count on each other. These are the things that tie our communities together. They always have, and they always will. Build your tomorrow with a bank you can rely on. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. With Ramp, you get full visibility into your company's spending and control who spends what with each vendor. Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts instantly to save your team valuable time. Ramp automates data entry and routine tasks with automated approvals, expense categorization and bill payments, time-consuming tasks, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. Get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool has been put away. Now is the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
1620 The Zone.
Here's the Yankees' Juan Soto. First pitch, he sends this one up the middle. It's going to get through into center field. It will score Simeon. It will score Kwan. Soto digs for second. He's in there with the double as he takes advantage of Teoscar Hernandez not getting that ball in very quickly. He goes into second base. He drives in two. And it's 3-2 now, National League. Full count pitch. Swing, and that one is into left field. It's a good one. Going to get down. Fielded by the left fielder. Profar. His throw home is not in time, and we are tied 3-3 as Soto beats it without a slide. And this is the guy that will take the extra base if he puts it in play, and this one may be out of play. He smacks one to right, and it is way out of here. Jaron Duran about 25 rows up. Right center field, a 2-run home run. And now the American League is on top. Clase is ready. 0-2, swing and a miss, and that'll do it. Clase closes it out, the American League. And Bruce Bochy win the 2024 All-Star Game by a final score of 5-3.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey, guys. Great to see you. Hey, great to see you as well on a Disney cruise.
So that was confirmed with the crown on and everything, and the Gary Sharp
football coach on a
Sharp
Disney
shirt.
cruise. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Why does it sound like I have an echo? Is it echoing? Echoing something with this
We
mic?
don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking. I
My
want to make sure.
headphones are
I
loud.
checked to see and make sure you were good.
You sound good in my ears.
You guys more important than me. Welcome in. It is a hump day. The weather forecasters. So I've heard phenomenal weather day. I've heard a perfect weather day on my weather forecast that I listen to. So that's what we're going to deliver to all of you.
Perfection.
That's what we're going to do today because we have to brace ourselves. For the next 2 days, these are the tour sports days of the entire calendar year. In the sports world, in the sports that is so great that we love being involved in sports and talking sports with you, and you love sports as well. And I think a hat that just says sports on it is one of the greatest hats of all time and shouldn't cost $35 online. But to be honest, the only thing that can save today outside of this 4-hour show is Caitlin Clark playing tonight. And maybe that we got up and we had a pulse and the sun's going to be out. It's going to be a beautiful day because today and tomorrow are the 2 worst sports days of the calendar year. With that said, good morning.
Yeah.
Yay.
How we doing? Sports. We were just looking at the British Open schedule. You get
that saves tomorrow.
As late or as early, however you want to look at it. 12:35 a.m. is our first tee time.
Yes.
So you can make a late night or an early rise. And the last tee time is at 10:30, roughly about tomorrow morning. So it spans for a long time.
Shutting down the course for a couple of hours and resetting it.
I know it's going on for 10 hours there. Love that.
We will talk about the Open coming up a little bit later, as it is the final major. I will take a little Oberg with a side of Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh, I like that.
If Oberg can fix his Sunday woes, I like him. But boy, I jumped all over, and I don't believe you're a golfing gambling guy.
I am actually.
You are.
When it comes to majors, I do.
All right.
Yes.
Look at you.
Yes, I do.
Go to FanDuel, by the way.
I've been doing that for the last couple of years now.
Colin Morikawa is plus 1,600.
Yep. Morikawa, especially the season he's having, would be a good one. One of the guys, I'm with you on Ludwig Gobert. In fact, I've been riding him the entire season.
It's been uncomfortable.
I know. Yeah. But
let other people know about that?
I like to keep it on the
might
wraps.
strain a relationship or two.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
know. He's a young buck. He's got a lot of energy.
Just leave it there. Keep it moving.
Take a knee.
The other guy that I'm looking at.
Don't chase that golf ball in the forest. Just keep it moving.
It's all
a little bit of advice, young.
It's all too fat.
Young
bikers in the woods having sex while how am I supposed to chip with that going on?
Yesterday?
No.
Oh, damn.
At Stony Creek? Really? You saw fornication in the woods?
No, they don't have woods there. So that would have been out in the open.
Even better.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Other guy, though, Tony Finau. I really like me some Finau.
I like Finau because he's on TikTok and he takes you behind the scenes. But I don't think I'm picking him this weekend.
So you're also not on the Scotty Scheffler.
No, it's just a given.
It is, but this Scheffler, one, I would actually be a little surprised if he's our guy this week.
Now, I'm not picking him to win.
Yeah.
Like I said, Oberg with a side of Tommy Fleetwood. But you cannot ignore Scotty Scheffler.
No, you can't.
Scotty Scheffler playing around at Benson. You could not ignore.
Oh, no. You'd tear that up. Probably shoot a 58.
Jimmy, a little bit disappointed that we something's missing in the Open.
A good national anthem?
No, I got thoughts on that.
Okay.
He was nice.
It was good.
I never heard of him. I was like, all right.
Why did you guys? I need to get you into country. Yeah, Cody Johnson is really good, especially in person.
I've seen George Strait multiple times.
We were a little sensitive.
A little bit different. George is the GOAT.
Exactly.
Cody's just getting out there.
Yeah, but we needed something good, and he did. He delivered. So.
Jimmy, very disappointed. Hashtag failure on your part with the highlights to open up. Because that was Ravitch doing the play-by-play,
Yeah, it
right?
was.
Yeah.
That was the ESPN radio.
Yeah, which you could hear here in Omaha, because any like All-Star game or the World Series is carried in Omaha.
Or at least you'll get the highlights.
Were you in charge of the sports schedule over there?
No.
You weren't? Okay, you get a pass.
No, I made none of those decisions.
So how come you do not have the highlight of the beginning of the game last night, where Carl Ravitch says, and now taking the field is the American League in their traditional beige uniforms.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
We do have, there's a couple of things that.
I'm just going to say I agree with everything you're about to say.
A reasonably pleasant All-Star game, according to myself.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't wow. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like to call, and that might be the name of my fantasy football team this year, is reasonably pleasant.
It was. Good pace.
Fairly decent.
But there is something that the game ending last night has solved, because we did have a little incident. It was not on the level of a national crisis, but we had an incident that was solved by the ending of the All-Star game last night. I am here to tell you we have solved the crime. You see, there were about 100 slow-pitch softball uniforms that were missing from a Fort Worth softball
Well done.
league, and they have been returned after last night's game. So if you wondered, oh my God, that seems to be a hell of a crime. The crime has been solved.
Yeah.
Everything is back to normal. All of the slow pitch softball players have their uniforms back.
God,
It used to be such an aesthetically pleasing game.
I actually think it was Blair Kirchhoff who put out the tweet last night. Would you like to continue to see the league specific all-star uniforms or go back to traditional individual uniforms? I don't even know if that should have even been a question.
Well, I don't think you can have an all-star game when the best dressed people on the field are the umps.
Yeah, or the fans.
Were they on the field?
No, on the field, yeah. No, that was awful. That was it was like watching the Tennessee Titans, and then I don't even know what you call the American League ones. That was just
They're traditional beige uniforms.
Yeah, they're traditional beige. Cream.
I mean, you can't knock them. The Ales won 10 of the last 11. It is crazy with the All-Star game that the National League has very rarely won.
It doesn't matter as much. They're like the Big 12.
Well, it does because
Not since
the
Pete
winner
Rose
of
won
the winner
game.
of last night's game gets to design the National League City Connect uniforms.
That would be great.
It was
a good game.
It was reasonably pleasant.
Yeah.
The uniforms are a thing. You can no longer be tone deaf because sometimes, online, the online discussion is not reality. But in this case, there is so much discussion where you can't be tone deaf that I'll give credit to Manfred is that he did give an indication yesterday that he is open to going back to the traditional uniforms, wear the goofy slow pitch softball uniforms for like the home run derby and maybe BP.
Yeah.
But once the game starts, they wear their regular uniforms. So you know who the hell is playing and also
Exactly.
who is in the game.
Exactly.
Like all of a sudden, from the Royals standpoint, you got Reagans, Perez, and Witt, and you wouldn't know it unless you're like, oh, that's Salvi behind the plate.
You got to see the patch. They can subtly see the patch on the side.
So
there.
I think last night was the last night for that. And baseball does a lot of things wrong, but they do listen. And I think they're listening here because I'm going to guarantee in the second half of the year, you're not going to go to many ballparks, if any, and find somebody that purchased an all-star game uniform to wear. Even like, would you rather purchase a Skenes all-star game uniform or jersey or a regular Pirate Homer Road jersey?
A regular Pirate Homer Road jersey.
A black jersey.
I mean, the whole thing is to sell.
Yeah.
But I don't. They got to be like nice. Those are just.
They're atrocious.
You could have gone to Kelly Field last night, and probably some of those slow pitch softball teams have better uniforms. Hell, even Jack Mitchell's softball team has a better uniform than was in the All-Star game last night. So I'm glad that this is like gonna be it.
Yeah.
Like it looks like we'll go back to the good old days where you know which player is on which team, and you can celebrate. Oh man, there's the Cub. That uniform so crisp. Because when they go down the line and they announce each player, and you're like, oh geez.
Yep.
Who is that guy again?
This is the one area where we've seen baseball at the high school and the collegiate level trend, and where I think it's always had a nice halt in Major League Baseball. Because, what you just suggested, we would watch the home run derby back in the day, and you would have anybody representing a National League team, they would have a red jersey that said National League, and they would have a patch, or maybe they'd be wearing their hat, so they would have that. And then the American League jersey would be blue. And that would be used and I remember even at times thinking, oh, those are kind of cool. And being young, I always wondered, I wonder if are they all wearing those tomorrow? But then as we always see on the game itself, you'd be wearing your individual jerseys of the team you're representing. It was easy to point them out. Hey, there's Bo Jackson in center field. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, so it was all used leading up to the All-Star game. So be as goofy as you want on these things. You're right. But do that in the home run derby. Do that in the individual skill competition part of that. When it comes to the actual game itself, that's where I thought Major League Baseball was doing better. That they resisted that.
No. You've been watching this long enough.
Well, the City Connect is a thing every now and then. Although I've noticed a lot of teams are wearing their City Connects way more this year.
Way too much.
Way more this year.
A lot of teams.
I like Cleveland's hat. That's about it. As far as the rest of that City Connect uniform, not a fan.
I'm like that we're going to go back to the roots of the game. Here's what just also added to last night.
Bring back
with the uniforms is the helmets. Like the helmets they were wearing were terrible as well.
Yeah.
They look like the Little League World Series.
Like the whole thing just it looked really, really bad. So I'm glad that they're not tone deaf and Manfred is open. And I think there's enough of a cry and a hue that was a really, really bad look. That unfortunately, I mean, the game didn't have a lot of moments last night. We're not talking about, oh my God, my favorite part of last night. We're talking about the uniforms. Now, we
That's
also
some good
might
stories.
Ohtani's 3-run homer.
That was cool.
Which I contend if Shohei Ohtani adds a Cy Young to whatever mansion he's living in Beverly Hills, he is the GOAT of baseball, and there is no debate. I will shut down that debate with ferocity if he adds a Cy Young.
Won't argue.
I mean, he's
slightly ahead of Orlando Merced.
He's unbelievable. First of all, I've told you guys this before. If you've ever seen him in person, he's a large guy. I don't know if it comes across on TV, but he is a large guy. And man, the sound of his 3-run shot last night.
He knew it was gone.
Yeah.
That is one of the greatest sounds of sports is when the ball is hit off a wood bat and you can immediately tell that it's going to go a long, long way.
Pitcher could just put his glove up for another ball.
Yeah. And that's essentially what Soto and Judges said. Yeah, we're not going to look at that one. I even thought that
shake it off.
Okay, I do want to, while we're on the negative train of this, I do want to give some positives.
I said Ohtani.
You did.
3-run homer. Any Ohtani home run is majestic. What are you doing? Are you killing America's pastime?
I'm going to keep this going.
The future is bright.
I'm going to keep this going, and with Fox's angles too.
Jimmy Jr. over there.
No, with Fox's angles, and on the Duran home run too. That's where the Duran one in person, or I should say in live, in real time, was you could tell that was an absolute shot. I love getting, and we mentioned this during the home run derby, and I know it was on ESPN, but Fox doing the same thing, getting that camera right behind home plate, and so you could see him step to it, and just the launch angle of that thing. I give me that so much more, because to your point about Ohtani's and even Duran's home run, to see the thing come off the bat like that when it's coming in close to 100 miles an hour, and I'm not sure. I think Duran hit a fastball. I think was mid 90s. And seeing the exit velocity and just the trajectory of the baseball there too gives you an idea of how hard these guys pissed on those balls. And the same thing with Ohtani when they ended up having to show it, I think, a couple of pitches later into the next at bat. But
does Ohtani not hit a home run that isn't majestic?
He doesn't have a little line drive that just sneaks over the wall.
Okay, that goes to the size you're bringing up. His size, and so the length and the hands coming through. There's just something about that, especially for. I was having this conversation yesterday too about a lefty. When it comes to a lefty swing, when it's pure through the zone, I don't know if there's anything more beautiful in sports. That's why that's the hill I will die on.
That's why when I play wiffle ball, I hit left-handed.
You should, even if you're not a lefty. You get that pure swing through.
I'm a straight righty. The nuns forced me not to be a lefty and stunted my sports career.
Oh my God.
They did.
There's
Catholic
a lot
nuns at St. Pius.
There's a lot of things that you experienced there that I really do question.
I do appreciate my 8 years at St. Pius, but I think along the ways I should have questioned more.
So they stunted your sports growth?
Yes, I was going to be a left-hander. And they're like, no, you're not writing with your left hand. You're going to write right-handed. So to get back at like Sister Corrine and other nuns that were, Sister Marcella, who...
Loyal listeners of the show.
She was the library. No, they're
the P1s?
Oh.
They have passed on to nun heaven.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
which is
we had a nun at St. Pius that was running the library. Dude,
old.
The Dewey Decimal System was younger than she was.
Was she younger or older than Prohibition?
But when I play wiffle ball, which I don't do very often, I'd like to do a little bit more. I hit left-handed. You're right. Like the left-handed just swing is a thing of beauty.
It is.
And especially when you turn on a splitter like he did last night and you just sit there and go.
Now I'm thinking of Griffey growing up.
Yeah, Griffey, Will Clark.
So the Ken Griffey Jr. has one of the prettiest swings of all time in baseball. I mean, that is majestic. That is downright baseball porn when you see Junior swing like that. Now, the question I had, when Ohtani hits the home run last night, how much do you think his former translator had on it?
Will he be betting tomorrow?
I'm sure he
do
probably.
you think his former translator, wherever he may be in this world, he's watching, and he had gone on to FanDuel and just happened to use the promo code DAZN. And when the ball is in the air, he's like, yes, 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 yes. I think so.
Probably. And then do you think he had a little side action with the how many times with the over under on Livy Dunn being seen in the stands, which hit the over, by the way?
Really?
Yeah, it was 1.5, which I thought was really low. That didn't count like red carpet stuff. That was from the game broadcast to the end. And there was at least 2, I think 3.
Her boyfriend gets more airtime than her. That shows you where Paul Skenes is.
Mm-hmm.
We will discuss his inning of work last night. Fremont Fred adds Darryl Strawberry's swing.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, as a Met, I mean, when 18 was on the left side of the box, that was a pretty sweet swing. The other thing last night that occurred, and we talked yesterday about the downright treasonous anthem that was performed by Ingrid Andress, and she announced on social media, you either
she had a few pops.
You either are, looking at it with a critical eye, or you have compassion that she was drunk and she is checking into rehab. I got some thoughts on that.
I do.
But we got saved last night by Cody Johnson, the popular country singer that neither of these two yahoos have ever heard of before. What do you think the internet would have been like if like when he got done, because he had a pretty good rendition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's a hard song to sing.
He did it well.
I think after what happened on Monday night, there will be fewer and fewer celebrities will want to sing the anthem at large sporting events. But what if after Cody Johnson, and he absolutely banged the anthem.
I would say effortless.
He gave it everything he had, and it was so Texas. They leaned into Texas last night. They announced the starting lineups, and they got people, roping.
Yeah.
That would have been funny if one of them would have, like with one of the players.
People think Dallas is like that. It is not.
Upend somebody.
But what do you guys think the internet would have been like today if after his performance, and it was roundly compared to the night before, but it shouldn't be because it should be a standalone because he was really good. What if he would have gone on social media and said, took a picture of him singing, used a picture of him singing. He said, man, pounded a couple of beers beforehand, went out there and hit a home run. Have a great All-Star game.
6 Lone Stars in and just getting started.
Just call me David Wells. I was wondering
Pass
if
out in a booth at Whataburger.
the type of pressure that he was under. Well, we talked about this yesterday. After he watched Ingrid Andress' performance, if you call it that, and said, "Oh God." So he handled it. I mean, it was. If we're just going to stay in the baseball vein of things, that was runners in scoring position, and he just drove one up the middle.
He was 4 for 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
consistent, solid.
Came through. If he was bad, because at that point, the only way people are going to talk about you from what happened on Monday night is if it was bad. It could have been the performance. I mean, it could have been like Chris Stapleton level, and nobody was going to really dig into that. It was going to be, this needs to be back to normal, a good rendition, and then we'll just carry on with our life. We'll breathe a sigh of relief, because if it wasn't, we'd have to have the conversation. Do we even do the national anthems before games now?
Only in Canada.
What did I say yesterday?
Are they necessary? Why do we have to do it before home run derby?
Why are we doing it before home run derby?
Yeah.
And why is someone emailed me yesterday when we were talking about anthems? I guess I had not paid attention. Whitney Houston's anthem was lip sync?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
I was 7 though, so I didn't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know that.
Yeah, it's kind of like being told.
Yeah.
That one person that brings
Easter
stuff.
Bunny?
Yeah.
Scott Calvin.
Yeah.
The Tooth Fairy?
The Tooth Fairy, all those things. Mm-hmm. I don't know who's listening right now.
First hour.
Most people shouldn't be the kids now, right?
The ratings would disagree.
They're sleeping. No, I'm just saying the kids.
Oh, I was
right
going to
now.
say
They're on
we're
summer,
doing quite well.
They're on summer break right now. Should be okay.
Flaky Jake, who is a diehard Braves fan. You guys are so right. I love Chipper's swing from the left side so much more than his right-handed swing.
Mm-hmm.
It just looked way sweeter as a kid.
It's true.
But he
tried to emulate that.
But Chipper was pretty good at both.
Yeah.
Yeah, the left.
Love a Chipper.
You know what? I think they have a day. Isn't there a national left-handed?
There is a lefty day. Yeah, that's true.
You write left-handed.
I do. I'm lefty in everything, but actually swinging a bat and a golf club.
Okay.
Yeah.
You throw left-handed?
I throw both.
Whoa,
So I played quarterback left-handed, throw baseball right-handed.
You were Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Different arm angles, so it's very weird. But I can take a baseball and say if we were just playing catch, I could throw left-handed to you and it wouldn't look like someone who's throwing with their opposite arm. Like I get away with it. But if we start playing long toss, that's where it'll start diving on you a little bit. It only has so much distance in it. Now the righty, we can go pole to pole. But yeah, well, I could back in the day. I don't know, 45. But yeah, but in football,
Charlie Huff was still pitching.
You know how you know how you kind of
it's
you like say you ear hole it or you pin it back. That arm motion was more natural for me left than doing that righty. And I was able to throw more of a spiral with my left hand than I was my right hand. So,
wow.
Yeah. I'm kind of a weirdo like that. But yes, everything, like I kick left-footed, I play pool left-handed. I'm a lefty with the exception of swinging a bat or a golf club or a hockey stick. Too.
Okay.
All that's righty. Not that I've swung a hockey stick much.
Right arm is your sports arm.
I think, and I'm not part of the fraternity, I think left-handers are cool.
Thanks, man. Sometimes I wear a hat's goofy.
I was a Mark Brunell fan.
I don't think this country appreciates left-handers as much as we need to. And I really do blame, like when you went to Catholic school, they would slap, if you're right and left-handed, they would slap your knuckles with a ruler because they wanted you to write right-handed. Because I think as I was told, if I remember this correctly, now remember, the teacher was pretty senile. She said, the devil writes left-handed. Do you want to be the devil?
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Now, when you're young and
Hey, so the devil's a lefty?
Steve Young's a descendant from Brigham Young.
Scott Mitchell will be really mad at that.
When you're
Josh Heupel?
When you're young and impressionable, like you don't want to be compared to the devil. I mean, probably even when you're older and less mature, you don't want to be compared to the devil. But I do remember that. Like, the devil writes left-handed. Do you want to be the devil?
He also went down to Georgia. What's your point? That's what
I didn't know that. I didn't know that song back then, but that would have been a good response.
Yeah.
So I think I have an appreciation for left-handers. Do you ever, barring like an injury or something happens to your right arm, does anybody ever make the change midlife?
Ooh, midlife? I don't know if you can.
Midlife, if you switch from being a righty to a lefty.
Ooh, gosh. I mean, all of a sudden you're talking about a lot of motor skills. A lot of part of your brain is trained to do everything one hand or the other. I don't know if you can just all of a sudden willy-nilly midlife switch. I would love to know if anybody has done that because I just
need to go to rehab or therapy to help with the transition.
I believe you probably need to be away from everything that you do and everyone you know for at least a solid 2 months.
To consult the
retrain
EAP.
that. Yeah, Gary, I think you're talking crazy. If it's happened, then
I think I could.
We'd like to know.
I would love to know if
we
someone
have ways you can get a hold of us.
Would we say like in your 20s?
No, anytime I would think.
All right, you guys know that I do not have the greatest handwriting. I just wrote that left-handed.
That actually isn't bad. It's in cursive too.
Oh, that's better than me.
It's pretty
right-handed.
good. Could you write an entire paragraph in a opposite hand in a timely manner?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay,
probably not.
I didn't like doing it in school.
You know what, man? This world, we're capable of so much. I bet it's happened. I bet someone's done it.
I've seen a lot lately, Nick, to tell you we are capable of a lot. All right, welcome in everybody. Off and running on a Wednesday. I got a lot of things to say today.
It's a good day.
I'm just telling you. I'm in a good mood though because the
good.
weather's going to be great. And it's
Me
hump day.
too.
Okay, I'm trying.
I'm in a good mood.
You heard it. 34 minutes in too.
Not a chance that you stayed up to watch the All-Star game last night. But why are you in a good mood?
I stayed up until about the 9th inning.
Whoa!
That thing was over.
Hey.
Guys, that was over by 9:45. It was. Do you realize it was 2 hours? Was it 2.5 hours?
And the only reason
it was like 10 o'clock.
I was like, this is
over. 3 hours. Well, I'll give you 2:45 because nothing ever starts on time.
Right.
Okay.
Let me just
get this off my chest as well. Okay. Now that we're on to some things
that is true.
That we're going to solve here.
2 hours, 28 minutes. Boom.
Okay. I will take that. I hope people stayed up to watch.
It was very quick.
It was reasonably pleasant.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Our sporting events.
Delightful.
Our sporting events. If it says a 7:07 first pitch or Morty Cordero 7:05, let's start the friggin' game at 7:05. This is not a concert. This is not a play where they're going to go on at 8:30 and they don't go on till 9:15. Yep. If a sporting event is supposed to start at 2:37 for kickoff or whatever, Let's start it at 2:37. Baseball's got a problem with these events where they never start on time. Okay? They just keep dragging it out, and then the beige uniformed AL team runs on the field and we start like at 7:20.
Yeah.
If you're gonna give me a start time, let's start. And you know who is the best at that? High school athletic directors. Because we have to be nice with them on Thursdays and Fridays. We have to adjust the time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if we say, hey, can we start at 7:06? Nope.
Good.
We got to go right at 7.
That's good.
No, it's not.
It's they're staying on time.
You get a 15-second pregame.
Same thing in college baseball. Absolute same thing in college baseball. That if you go 1 minute over, people are all panicky and itchy, and they're like, "Oh, why? Why did that happen?" And that's the thing. If you go a minute over, hockey thing. I think college sports in general, other than the ones that have major national television networks on it, and they're going to kind of drag it out a little bit. Like Nebraska baseball, UNO hockey that I've been a part of. If it is a minute later than what is on the sheet in the timesheet, they just start asking questions. Okay, why did that happen, guys? We got to make sure we know why it happened and it doesn't happen again, which I like. I appreciate that.
See, I appreciate the College World Series because the College World Series, and we all have timing sheets. When they say we're starting at X time, they start at X time.
And if you don't, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Right. Just a request on just a middle of July Wednesday that I have for y'all. Let me give you the lineup. As we mentioned, we will talk about the Open at Royal Troon that begins later tonight. We will have sports for the next 2 days in the morning. Sports in
the morning. And it's not COVID.
That should be the name of the show. Sports in the morning.
Sports in the morning.
With no COVID?
Sports in the morning with no COVID. Or Korean baseball. That was the only thing that was going on in the morning during COVID was Korean baseball.
That's a long title. Sports in the morning with no COVID.
It is hard to brand that.
And watching Korean baseball.
Yeah. Even two guys and a girl, the pizza place.
We might have to abbreviate that. We'll workshop it.
I know you weren't talking about two broke girls because they didn't work at a pizza place.
No.
But that's twice that show's
I
come
hate
up this week.
hate that you know that they didn't work at a... Gosh, I cannot believe you watched that show.
I can.
It looked awful.
I didn't care about the dialogue.
Even the
it was just on.
Even the eye candy of it would maybe last me not even a full episode. It'd be like, okay, I'm good.
Well, then the one actress went from that show. She's on Neighborhood.
Oh yeah. I knew that.
I don't even know what her name is.
Are you talking about the brunette?
The blonde.
The other one.
The blonde. Okay,
I don't. Kat Dennings.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Kat Dennings is
that her name?
Yeah. No. That's
she's the brunette.
Other one.
Yeah, she's the brunette.
And then you get Stifler's mom, who's obviously doing quite well for herself.
And see, honestly, I had no idea she was even in it. I just didn't know.
She's a big deal in that show.
No.
Was
anything a big deal? Okay. Anyway, that show.
See, good mood.
Matt Rudy will join us coming up at 8. Tyson Lewis, formerly of Millard West. He is signing with the Cincinnati Reds, drafted 51st overall in the Major League Baseball draft earlier this week. By the way, keeping it local, Mr. Kryling, Harrison Kryling from UNO, got drafted in the 17th round yesterday by Seattle. There is a Roll Side product, Omaha West Side guy. But Tyson will join us coming up at 9, and Brandon Vogel at 9:40 from Counter Read. The lineup brought to you by the Roof Rees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Yesterday was also a day where we wasted some oxygen and we'll never get it back. And I will never understand it. And I think Texas fans are soft AF.
No.
We spent time talking about should horns down be a penalty. That is the biggest waste of time in sports right now, is discussing horns down being a penalty.
It is.
Okay. And somehow that entered the SEC yesterday into discussion. And doesn't Sarkisian talk today?
He does, yes.
He should just go up to the podium and go.
Be like, I'm cool with this.
Can't believe. It's such a waste of oxygen because I get it unless you do it in someone's face.
Right.
Okay, if you do that.
If you do anything in anyone's face.
Throw the flag.
It's taunting if you do anything.
Throw the flag, throw the knuckles.
Yep.
But the other part of it is, I would ask, and there are a couple of them that are big 1620 The Zone listeners that are Texas fans. Are you really upset? Or are you just upset because it seems like it's Oklahoma that does it? Are you really upset about horns down?
Yeah, like if you're playing Kansas State and they just so happen to throw down a horns down sign, does it just cut to the core of like, oh, you don't do that? That needs to be a flag. This is the one thing I've always grappled with, and maybe it's just because I'm not a Texas fan. If you have that, you have the hook 'em horns and someone throws that down, does that really just get to the pit of your core and just the fiber of your being that it just enrages you that something needs to be done to the point that it needs to be penalized? Or is it one of those things where you just take your medicine on it of like, yeah, we know, but we like to throw it, horns up as well. Like, I can't imagine people getting that butthurt over
they do.
gesture.
Oh, they do.
It's just amazing to me. Like if somebody throws, okay, say Nebraska's playing Colorado and Dylan gets sacked and one of their guys throws up the bones. Is that just going to cut to the core of you like, ooh, or you're just like,
A guy in the 55th row in the North Stadium may come out of the stands and onto the field, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. It's a gesture. And people will use the gesture that you use against you when they get the better of you. Why can't we just leave it at that?
Now, it hits you a little bit differently when it's a former Nebraska prepster that playing for Iowa does it in your stadium, but I get what you're saying.
True.
I get what you're saying.
True. There's context to everything. But going back to your original point, if you do anything in anyone's face, yeah, okay, that should warrant a flag because you are taunting. But if you're, it's the same thing in baseball with the unwritten rules. If you're flipping your bat and you're pumping your chest, but you're directing that at your dugout in celebration with your teammates, I'm cool with that. It's when you look at the other dugout or the pitcher, and then you make eye contact with him and you are showing him up, then okay, rules apply. Next guy might get plunked, and I'm okay with that. It's the same thing. It's a gesture.
We really missed out on an opportunity, and I blame Solich. Because when Bo was the DC and was a little unhinged,
yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
The most likely person in the Nebraska-Texas series that would have gone horns down, a player or a coach, I would have said, if Nebraska would have been able to contain Vince Young in 2003, Bo may have gone horns down. And it would have been the best piece of memorabilia in a man cave across Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's a what if that we should have had on the show.
I think it's fair. Yeah.
And he would have done it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably would have done it when all the coaches were shaking hands.
He probably would have done it.
To Bill Snyder.
To Bill Snyder.
And Bill Snyder would have been like, yes.
Hey, he would have just been horns down all season.
They just pointed at each other.
Wait a minute. You're doing it when you're not playing Texas? Oh, yeah. It's just a sign.
It's his thing.
It's just a sign. It's a sign for, family member that's watching at home.
Unites the Big 12 against Texas.
Oh, I thought the SEC was boring until yesterday, and that came up, and I thought, oh, man, there's like 2.5 minutes of listening to Feinbaum that I'll never get back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of people say that on a daily basis. If you'd like to join the conversation at any point, talking about Livy Dunn, who did she do a wardrobe change?
She did, yeah.
She was on the red carpet with
a gown.
Paul, with Paul
going to the prom
with a gown.
And then she was very cash in the stands
with a jersey.
With her sister.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask, that was her on the
Your friend,
that was
her
also
sister.
wearing the jersey, I thought, and she was the
sister.
first one that said "Go Paul," and then you get the really pronounced "Let's go Paul" by Livy, but her sister actually started the trend.
Sister was actually talking about Feinbaum.
She's a big SEC fan.
They all are. Just means more.
That's true. I mean, they are LSU representatives.
Yes, they are. 402-951-1620. That is the 42-degree, the Source by Your Mom's House hotline. Also, you can email us into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally, professionally, and to you, which is a new tagline for Equitable Bank. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Hanley at 1620thezone.com.
Also on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Y'all funny. Already on Twitter at Gary Sharp 1620.
At Nick Hanley 1620.
All right, Jimmy's got an update coming up after 7. We'll talk the Open at 8. Tyson Lewis, what a cool honor for him and his family. Drafted by the Reds, he will forego going to Arkansas. He is off to play professional baseball. But first, the former Millard West Wildcat and state champion and Gatorade Player of the Year stops by at 9. Brandon Vogel as well on 1620 The Zone. Hey, another cool thing last night about the All-Star game, if you did watch the pregame show, and I'm not a Brewers fan, but we know Lane Grindle, who is part of the Brewers radio and TV, but they did a sit-down with Bob Uecker, who is now into his 90s. Still sounds great. Doesn't do as many games, but still sounds good on the air. You'd never know that he's, 91?
Yeah.
But Rinaldi did a thing with him. Man, he's still got his fastball. He's funny. He's a personality. He is a absolute legend who has a statue. I was pretty cool. That if I'm making a list of my top 5 highlights of last night, I think Rinaldi's interview with the GOAT was great. And it makes you appreciate that a lot of people didn't know that Bob Uecker was an actual baseball player.
Yeah.
They thought he was a celebrity that did commercials and then was like in a movie.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, has been doing the Brewers forever.
Yeah. I think in the 1997 World Series, where I bring this one up just because it was
a good crew.
It was a good crew because you had Bob Costas, you had Joe Morgan, and you had Bob Uecker, and you had just about every type of personality that I think you would want in a baseball broadcast. But the knowledge that each individual brought to it, but they played off each other, is good. That's the best Bob Costas broadcast that I think I've ever experienced. I thought it was really cool to see young players like Paul Skenes in awe. You know, when you see a guy who is of the stature of Paul Skenes, you would think most people, whether they've been in the game for a long time or new to the game, would be in awe of Paul Skenes. But to see Paul Skenes in awe of Bob Uecker and know who he was and was completely geeked out to meet Bob Uecker, that to me, we can talk about some of the greats who have ever called this game. I would say that right there, when you have the next phenom and he sees you as opposed to you seeing him, and there's that oh my gosh, I'm meeting a legend moment. I think that tells you everything you need to know about Bob Uecker and his impact on baseball.
I'm glad you brought up Skenes because let me have a moment here. So Skenes was the story of the night last night. He went 1 inning. He pitched his inning. He got Judge. So we got the matchup. He actually probably should have been 1, 2, 3. But mix up with the catcher.
Yep.
Soto gets on base. So Judge comes up. Judge swings the first pitch, ground out, and the inning is over. But Skenes is the story of the night. I just want to say, and I'm not out here to start a war. And women, I've loved you for a long time. Most of you have never loved me back as much as I love you, but I love women. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm
okay,
not.
Cool.
This next statement that I'm about to make,
Don't forget,
isn't about you, but it's the reality. And if you're a woman, you know, you're already shaking your head, and I haven't even told you what I'm going to say. The mere fact that y'all so damn petty that us men appreciate other men. I love the fact that baseball, I'm not saying all, not a blanket statement, baseball, but more in particular, the all-stars that are there are embracing Paul Skenes, that he is good for the game. Men respect men. Women are so petty on women. Okay. I love you, women. Okay. I will always love you. You're an important part of my love life. But y'all damn petty. Okay. Can you not learn anything from men? We've learned a lot from you. Can you not learn from us that if a man is successful, we appreciate his success?
I hope someone's tuning in just right now.
When a woman is successful, women are like, let's cut her off at the knees. And I like the fact that baseball has embraced Paul Skenes because he's a dude. And people go, well, wait a minute. Did he earn it? Yeah, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball right now in a short amount of time. Back in May, there were 9,000, not 9,000. There were 3,000 Sarpy County school kids were watching him pitch going, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Michael Brunts came up from Lincoln. He bought a ticket to sit in the front row to watch
And he's
Skenes,
an A's fan.
Skenes pitch 5 innings. Yes, he's earned it. He's one of the best players, and I'm glad we're embracing him and we're putting him out there. And I also like this fact. You know why? You know how good Paul Skenes has been? We don't talk about his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So
it's just part of it.
You could easily talk about her.
She's Paul Skenes'
but she
boyfriend.
she is kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And he is the story, and that is a sign that we are in a good spot with Paul Skenes. Thank you. For all the ladies out there that I have made upset, I still love you. Thank you. That was my TED Talk for the morning. But I wanted to get that out of the way about Skenes.
Game recognizes game, I think is
That's probably the best way to describe
yeah,
it.
I think
like if a guy got game.
yeah, you recognize
his
it.
wingman goes.
Yep.
Women
Boys
got game. They go, you are a.
How dare you have game?
Wait a minute, my mic cut out.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. It's the okay. This is the conversation. You see, well, you Skenes. Dude's pretty good. Yeah, did you guys see him? Yeah, he's pretty good. The opposite side of that is the how dare that person be so good? I mean, I think that's what it is. How dare you? As opposed to
paid someone.
As opposed to good for you.
It's the Caitlin.
It's how dare you?
It's the Caitlin Clark versus Paul Skenes.
Mm-hmm. How dare you versus good for you? Mm-hmm. That's how I would put that.
You went and played golf yesterday.
I did.
I've understood when I was playing the other day, somebody alerted me to something that is becoming a trend as a joke on golf courses.
Oh?
It is not my game.
Or mine.
That most times you would just quit. Golf is one of those sports where you can't quit. You might have a terrible round,
but you have one good shot,
and you turn around, and you're like,
or one
as you with your head down, walk down that hill at Elmwood Park to your car that's parked on the gravel lot, and you're like, I hate this sport.
Yep.
But
why do I do this to myself?
But as you're taking off your shoes and putting them into the trunk, you're like, I'll be back tomorrow.
And you're probably like, you know what? I think I know what I was doing wrong. I can't wait to go out and correct it.
So I have not heard of a course here in Omaha, but I am hearing that there is some pranksters going on in the golf course.
Oh boy,
around the country.
Are we talking about all the guys wearing short shorts?
No,
because that's
Man, you really have something against the short shorts.
There were a couple yesterday that
it's been warm.
No, these are. There's things that if you're sitting in your golf cart, you might see and you can't unsee. So I'm just not my thing, not your thing. It's more of a teenager college.
Shorts got to hit the kneecap with me.
Yep, I need them at least above my knee. Yeah. I've gotten I just it's a teenage early 20s thing, and that trend will never hit me.
Okay, so here is a trend of the jokey jokers out there on the golf course. Is the next time you're playing with your buddy and he shows up and he has a bag of marshmallows, you should go, why do you have marshmallows?
What?
I'm with you. All right.
People are driving in a cart while they're playing, and they're taking the marshmallows and throwing them out.
So it looks like a ball.
So it looks like a ball.
That's funny. I like that. That's funny.
For somebody that loses a lot of balls,
I lose balls too.
Are you eating your ball?
If I reach down to as you were driving by and I try and scoop a marshmallow, I'm through. That might get me to quit the sport,
really funny.
Especially when it's been out in the heat.
Yeah.
Ooh, a s'more.
So
what if you write Titleist on it too?
This is one of those TikTok things.
Yeah, I assume this was a TikTok thing.
That people are taking a bag of marshmallows, you jokey jokers, jerks, and are driving around on golf courses while they're playing, and they're throwing the marshmallows out. Like they're even throwing them in the fairway.
This is funny.
Kids.
Usually those TikTok things, like
they're 3-inch shorts.
I think when I was first hearing, and these are from some friends that are teachers, who were telling me about, there was a TikTok challenge of ripping when they had the hand sanitizer stations in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
You had to rip those off, and I don't know what the hell they did with them, but that was a thing. It was a challenge. So everyone was doing that. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with people? This one's funny. I got to admit, this one's kind of funny. Because
you must not lose as many balls as I do.
I do, but usually that's the funny part about it.
You would think I would be the one that would go, this is hilarious.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny.
I'll have some speaks if that happens. So just be aware out there, all you men and women that are going to be out on the golf course.
Take some graham crackers and chocolate.
See, what's great about it is if you're in a cart by yourself, or if you're playing in, say, a money game and you want to be a little dishonest. And you're like, oh, yeah, I see it up there, actually. I thought it was lost. I can see it up there. And you get to it, and it's actually a marshmallow. That's when you just have the ball in your pocket, and you just drop them. Like, well, the team we're playing, they don't know because they thought they saw a ball, too. Can work out in your favor. You got to use it to your advantage. I feel like you could use it to your advantage, especially if it's like just off the fairway. Like, oh, yeah, there it is. It wasn't that bad of a shot.
I'm just telling you, I'm going to lose it if I confuse my Kirkland for a marshmallow or vice versa.
Oh man, you would love my wife with her golf ball selection too. She is Team Kirkland.
Hey,
I found her a Titleist Pro V1 yesterday. I said, here you. She's like, no, it's not a Kirkland.
Sneaky good place to buy golf balls is Costco. I'm not saying you always have to buy Kirkland because there is shame in the fact that if you lose a ball and you have people that are helping you find it, and they go,
"What are you hitting?"
Oh, or you get that jerk that's playing with you that's like holds up, "Who's got a Kirkland?
Who's Wilson? Hey, is this your Top Flight? Wait, hey Gary, I think I found your ball. Top Flight, right? Yes.
Who? Johnny Goodman. Hey, who's using a range ball?
Oh, see, I do that, or I'll announce it before I hit a ball. I'm like, I'm gonna hit this crap ball here, just because I'm afraid I might lose it, and it's a Spalding. I didn't even know they made golf balls anymore.
All right. Jimmy's got an update coming up after the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll dive into some Nebraska football because it's time next week. Nebraska will be in Indianapolis for the media days. Easier to overcome being mediocre or snake-bitten? We'll dive into that and much more. Matt Rudy coming up at 8 from Golf Digest. Talk about the Open that begins at 12:35 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, technically.
Late night tomorrow morning. Tiger was pretty savage yesterday.
You could close down the bars and watch the first couple groups go up. That's cool.
Bars don't stay open as late as anymore.
I know. Technically.
Hey, last call is like, unless you're
10:30.
Unless you're it's really, bars are closing like 10:30, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll beatbox all day. I can do an entire segment. You just talk and I'll beatbox.
Okay.
Kids will like it.
Why don't you do that? Why don't you be Jimmy's music?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right. That's coming up after the top of the break. You gonna be okay? You're not gonna lose your voice, anything like that? No damage to the vocal cords?
Get you some water.
I'll let you know.
Last time you beatboxed?
It's been a while since I
When
beatboxed.
you were busking down in the old market on the corner by Spaghetti Works?
Well, that's when you get the sidekick giving you a little. It's coming.
We also will talk to Tyson Lewis.
Have fun on a Wednesday.
Brandon Vogel. Hey, you know what? The next 2 days, people are like, oh, what are you guys going to talk about?
Anything.
Come on. Really? This face?
Pull back.
It's mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
I mean, unless you're going to
Do you want me to do it?
You
I'll
do it?
Let's see.
Oh, yes. Let's just go with that. That's much better. All right. No, keep going.
Oh, I gotta catch my breath every
All
now
right,
and then.
catch
but-
your breath. The Stormchasers are off until Friday when they open a series with Indianapolis. Friday is sitcom night. I just think that's awesome. It has nothing to do with this update. Boston Red Sox center Jarren Duran, a first-time All-Star in his second season as an everyday player, completed the American League's comeback 5-3 at the All-Star game last night in Arlington / the Dude Ranch that is Globe Life Field. He had a 2-run homer off Cincinnati Reds pitcher Hunter Green. With the blast, Duran became the first Red Sox player since J.D. Drew in 2008 and the fifth in franchise history to earn the game's MVP award, named after Ted Williams, who was pretty good at baseball. Duran put the finishing touches on a comeback required after Shohei Ohtani smashed a 400-foot 3-run piss missile against Red Sox right-hander Tanner Houck to open the scoring in the third inning. It was the Dodgers' designated hitter's first career All-Star game home run and second by a Dodgers player since Mike Piazza in 1996. As Nick continues to add the soundtrack for this update, we will tell him that his football team is looking better. On the day rookies reported to Hallis Hall for training camp, quarterback Caleb Williams and wide receiver Rome Odunze, the first and ninth picks overall drafted by the Bears, signed their respective first-round rookie contracts yesterday. Williams signed a 4-year deal worth $39.4 million with a $25.5 million signing bonus. The Bears announced Odunze's signing earlier in the afternoon, which is a 4-year contract worth $22.7 million and containing $13.3 million signing bonuses. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, pretty good. He's officially requested a trade, though. Other teams that have reached out to the 49ers have been told the team has no intention of trading him. With 1 year remaining on his rookie contract, Ayuk has been seeking a big money extension in the line of other wideouts who have earned deals this season, such as the Eagles' A.J. Brown, the Lions' Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Eagles' Devontae Smith, and the Dolphins' Jalen Waddle. Ayuk is set to make a paltry $14.124 million this year, the fifth and final year of his rookie contract. His request comes a week before veterans are slated to report to the Niners training camp. About 3 weeks after Ayuk and the Niners met in Santa Clara to discuss the situation. Both contracts are fully guaranteed, containing a fifth option in 2028. Oh, that's the Bears thing. All right, finally, Texas arrived at his first appearance at SEC Media Days yesterday, but the old storyline is the same. SEC coordinator officials John McDavid was asked if horns down was going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct. In the SEC case, it says it doesn't pass the mall test. He says the act itself needs to be offending to the senses. You know the 5 senses. If you took that act out of a football stadium and did it in a shopping mall or a grocery store, would it offend the senses to a majority of the reasonable people in the area? That signal would not. You might have some people that share that signal with, what are they talking about? Anyway, you can do horns down in the SEC. We thank Nick Handley for the fantastic soundtrack to this update. Well done.
Nicely done.
Nice done.
I didn't lose my breath as much as I thought I would. I had a couple breaks in there.
I started to think maybe I made this too long. I felt bad for a second.
When he said finally, I was like, good.
It is
close the book on Kellner.
It's
thank God.
World Emoji Day.
Oh,
you might sneak that into the update there, Jimmy.
Also National Hot Dog Day.
Yes, frankly delicious.
Is the poop emoji still the most popular one?
I don't know. Google that.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So emojis have been around for 22 years.
Damn.
They're celebrating their 22. That's being correct. They're celebrating their 22nd birthday. The most popular emoji.
Still the heart. Oh.
Hey, can you find out, on your own, what's the emoji that you've used the most?
Middle finger.
Shock.
Mine would be, I guarantee mine would be a thumbs up.
Not the fist pound?
Every now and then, if I'm really fist pound. But usually if cool, all right, thumbs up.
Middle finger and that red face with the...
Oh, the angry face?
Yeah. We call that Thursday.
So
not today though. It's
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that whatever is atop your emoji use says a lot about you.
Ooh.
Your kind of personality.
Yeah.
Now Jimmy's already revealed that he likes the middle finger and the angry face. So Jimmy is a very angry person.
Many have said since about 1988.
So I'm a thumbs up guy. I guess I'm cool. I'm cool with it. That's just who I am, I guess. I'm cool with it. Yeah.
You're very chill.
Yeah, chill. Yeah, I'm cool with that. So I don't buy this. Now, according to, there's an Emojipedia page.
I believe it.
According to that, Now, the heart is the most used, followed by the check mark button. This is where it gets weird. Sparkles, like the star and then the two little stars.
I've never used that one.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm a zero use of that one.
I don't know if I've ever even seeked that one out. Then fire, then loudly crying face, then skull, Jimmy. Skull. The skull. You can get down with that.
That doesn't mean what you think it means now.
Oh.
That's just even funnier.
Oh, laughing so hard your face falls off?
Unless you're going to a Raiders game. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Then smiling face with smiling eyes. Then face with tears of joy, or as we like to say, laughing so hard you're crying. Star, heart hands. I thought the heart hands would be on the rise. Party popper.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
The party popper. The sun. Then the big eyeballs.
Okay.
Whoa.
How has the peach not made it yet?
Thumbs up. Thumbs up is so down the list. Then folded hands. Then praying.
What about the cap? That's become a popular one.
Ooh, I have to go way down. We got...
I think there's a bad list.
Yeah, we got
I think it's outdated.
Heart eyes,
Yeah.
rocket, point down, round pushpin.
I think this is an outdated list.
It might be.
Because hard hands that's a big one.
Yeah, I thought hard hands would be in the top 5 by now.
But celebrate a World Emoji Day today by just responding to people with emojis.
Mhm.
No text. Everything is an emoji.
So basically give a Matt Rule response.
Yes. Oh, that used to be a thing.
Mm-hmm. You try to figure out what he's doing.
We hasn't done that in a while.
I know.
Where everything was just an emoji.
I was hoping he'd be consistent with that.
Yesterday would have been burger.
That was when
and then a
Nebraska
king.
football was fun. Now Nebraska football is a little tension convention because you don't know if it's going to be a good season or not. And you want it to be a good season. If it's not a good season, then you're really going to be upset. It used to be fun when it was just emojis and you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
5 wins. That's yeah.
We're emoji-less now.
Yes.
Means it's getting serious.
All right. When we come back, speaking of that guy's football team, the football program as a whole, 5-21 in one-score games since 2020. Brett Ciancia, our good friend from Pick Six Previews, has got his preview out. He's got a section in there that is he found a stat on Nebraska that is mind-boggling. So is it easier to get out of being a mediocre football team to get better or a snake-bitten team? We will dive into that when we come back. We'll talk the Open. Golf coming up at 8. Tyson Lewis, very happy guy. We'll find out what his path is to when he reports for the Reds, signs, all that good stuff. Gets to go to Cincinnati. Gets to go on the field, take a little BP, hang out. We can hang out with Ellie Dela Cruz.
Yeah, exactly.
Who I was really surprised did not try and steal last night when Salvi was behind the plate.
It's disappointed. I wanted to see him go.
Hey, because
They want to blow
Ellie
a
Dela
hammy.
Cruz says he's the fastest guy.
They want to blow a hammy.
Yeah.
Fair.
Did you know, I saw Marty tweeted this out, or the Stormchasers did, 22 players in last night's game have come through Werner Park.
That's awesome.
We had a stretch of O'Neal Cruz playing for Indianapolis. Ellie Dela Cruz was playing for Louisville. You had Skenes that was playing for Indianapolis.
That's pretty
and then
awesome.
you had, Bobby Witt Jr. It wasn't very long ago he was here.
There's good little advertising for the home product right there, too.
Yeah.
Not only your team itself, but hey, look who comes through at any given moment.
And Brandon Vogel will stop by as well as we roll till 10 on a hump day. Plus, we will discuss the thing that will overtake a very slow sports day is a hot dog, a sandwich. Was your little beatbox in there?
July.
Did you just beatbox?
I laughed. I don't even know what happened there. It wasn't. Oops.
Yeah.
Check your radon levels.
It's just the annual conversation that you just have to have on this
I
day.
love it. I'm really surprised that the internet has not started to take off this morning. Is hot dog a sandwich?
It's slow. It will.
Tomorrow, walk-up music.
It's mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, we are a day away. You're looking to find something here in the middle of summer that fits you well. Lindley Clothing's annual sidewalk sale begins tomorrow, and it is going to be so hot. How hot it's going to be? It's going to be so hot, you got to get there now because all spring and summer menswear, 50 to 70% off original price. David Donahue dress shirts, which are super comfy, 20 to 50% off. Yeah, you heard me right. Stop by Lindley Clothing. Sidewalk sale begins tomorrow, 132nd Dodge in the Linden Market. You're going to love what you're going to find. They've been in business for nearly 90 years, outfitting men, top-notch customer service, number one. They get to know you by name. You're almost like you're part of the family with John, Marlene, and the rest of the crew. And don't forget, with the summer sale that begins tomorrow at Lindley Clothing, coming up on Saturday, John's really going to go to work. They got the grill out. He'll be serving up hot dogs, cool refreshments, all at Lindley Clothing. Their big annual sidewalk sale begins tomorrow, 132nd in West Dodge in the Linden Market. Hey, another good night yesterday, or good day yesterday at the Summer League in Vegas for Trey Alexander. Third straight game. He was in double figures. What do you have, 18 yesterday for the Nuggets? Isn't that right?
Yep.
What else did he do yesterday?
Played basketball. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I just saw the numbers.
Regular Alex English.
He's no Alex Sarr, who went 0 for 15 from the floor in 30 minutes of activity. Oh, Reed Shepherd, by the way, looks really, really good.
Thought you were talking about Bronny for a second.
No, Alex.
I'm a Reed Shepherd fan now after the suit he wore to the draft. Same thing I wore for my confirmation when I was 14.
I didn't know you got confirmed.
Sure.
Really?
I'm good with the big man.
Okay.
At least I was
All right.
back then.
Those were the days. kind of a lost touch. I don't know how to feel about what I'm about to tell you all about a friend of mine.
Okay.
Because I met this person when they were young. Does the name Sean Buchanan ring a bell?
Kind of.
Okay, so Sean Buchanan, who is one of my favorite Nebraska athletes of all time. Got to know his family. Sean Buchanan played baseball at Nebraska, and he was from Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
So one of the nicest guys, played third base, wore number 12. Everybody knew Buke.
Mm-hmm.
But his mom and dad were great people. So Buke, played professional baseball, was in the White Sox organization, and then when his career was over, moved back to Nebraska and has made his home here in Omaha. People know him in the baseball circuit. He also has what I would call an executive job.
Okay.
But Sean Buchanan is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I met his daughter. God, this was I think it was a Nebraska football game, maybe like 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
His daughter is Miss Nebraska USA.
Oh, really?
So Cammie, who went to Nebraska, got a degree in human science and family studies with an emphasis in psychology. Hello. She is pursuing her PhD in counseling psychology. She's working as a GA at Nebraska. She is Miss Nebraska. So former Nebraska baseball player Sean Buchanan, his daughter Cammie, Cameron to most, is representing Nebraska. He just sent me that. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh my God, I met her like when she was 6. And now she's Miss USA.
That's pretty
That's
awesome. That is pretty awesome.
Hey, people say you're a landlocked state. You got no chance of winning these pageants. I'm telling you. It's been, 5 years ago? Miss USA was a Nebraskan?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. That's cool news.
That
is really, really cool news. Thank you, Buke, for sharing that with me. Daughter, fabulous resume. So she's going to represent the state of Nebraska at the Miss USA pageant in Hollywood.
Okay. So this is interesting too with the baseball tie of all of this too, because in fact, when I was in Columbus coaching, a guy that's known in a lot of the baseball circles as well, Saul Saltero, he was actually with the Nebraska baseball staff under Mike Anderson running their Big Red camps. His daughter, who is now married to, oh gosh, I'm just completely blanking, pitcher. Pitch for Nebraska. Gosh, he's still playing. He's still active in pro ball. I don't know why it's escaping me. It'll come to me.
Jackson Rose?
No.
I guess he didn't pitch at Nebraska. He pitched at Minnesota.
In Minnesota. He pitched against Nebraska. But yeah, his daughter also represented in the pageant for Miss Nebraska. And again, there's the baseball tie too. So are baseball players, when they have daughters, somehow, is that what's happening right now? Is your
the genes?
In the genes? Yeah, it's maybe you have an athlete, or maybe you have someone that's going to be in the pageant. Like that's kind of it. It's very, very cool. What a great honor! But it's also the second time now that there is a baseball tie to someone that has been in the Miss Nebraska into the pageant circuit too. So keep doing y'all. Keep doing what you're doing because that is really cool. Jake Diekman. That's her husband.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Gosh, I don't know why I forgot that.
Because Mets fans would like to forget Jake. Unfortunately, Jake's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he's having a little rough year for the Mets out of the bullpen.
Yeah. How about that?
By the way, Nick, the great midgets look up to me said from the last segment, the only thing this beatbox thing makes me want to do is push it real good. From now on, Nick is known as Lil Spinderella.
I've been called worse. Sometimes to my face too. So it's good. Spinderella. Spinderella's still with us. Anyway, that's really cool. No, that is awesome. And obviously, you and I Jimmy, you probably know her as well because she was in. Well, I don't know.
That's not true.
She was in TV for a long time, as we know. Brandy Peterson also in the Mr. Nebraska circuit, and a huge baseball fan too.
Yeah, and she is. I think Brandy has stayed involved.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she has.
Yeah.
She mentors a lot of the women in the circuit, not just in Nebraska, but through the Midwest, I think even nationally too. So yeah, she's a big advocate of the community service that they do and the work and the outreach that they're a part of. So yeah, that's really cool because what I've learned through Brandy and then even following Amanda Diekman through her father, a lot of what they do, like you have to be a really good person too. I mean, you are going to be blessed with the look as well, but more than anything, it's what you're able to do with that title and to be able to brighten people's days. A lot of less fortunate people that might be struggling with illness, their outreach. It's just amazing. It's really cool. Anybody who is a part of that circuit and represents chapters throughout the state too. I mean, you are very good people. So that is a really cool thing.
So Cammie Buchanan. I'll have to ask Buke when the competition is out in Hollywood.
Yeah.
We should take the show there.
I mean, I could tell you that.
Supporting Nebraska.
I could tell you that when I was introduced to her outside of Memorial Stadium, I thought, you know what? Someday in 18 years, you're gonna. So I brought this up, as we're getting closer to the season. I was thinking about this, and I was going through Brett Ciancia's Pick Six preview, which is a must for all fans. You hear Brett every Friday during the football season. His expert analysis, and he's accurate and he's fair. He has in the 2024 Brett Ciancia Pick Six Preview Bible, he has a section on I wouldn't call it a luck or misfortune section, but he does this thing where he gets into opponent adjusted stats, offense, defense, taking in the strength of the opponent. There are very few teams that are on this list that did not make a bowl game. Nebraska actually happens to be on this list twice. And 4 times in 280 team seasons that Brett has been doing this, 1.4% of the time it's happened in Nebraska. Twice in 4 years, where the adjusted stats, offense, defense by opponent, and you didn't qualify for a bowl game, where you were in a good category. I read it and I was like, only in Nebraska. So I got to think, 5-7 last year, could have been 8-4. Hell, should have been 6-6. Let's be honest, should have been 7-5.
Yep.
At least. But October was good, November was bad, and December brought rain.
A cold November rain.
I think it was a Luke Bryan song.
I know who he is.
He's going to be coming to Omaha end of the month.
Nice.
You guys want to go?
Yeah, I'm going.
Puts on a good show.
I've seen Luke Bryan. See him not in person. Seen him at CHI Health Center though.
We somehow
he likes to dance.
We somehow like country music around here. Country music artists do well in this town. It's really a shocker. Easier to build from mediocre or snake-bitten, because not only that stat, but remember the one score stat that everybody can recite ad nauseum. They stop you on the train. You might be over taking the train. You get up at 5 a.m. in the morning and you want to be first in line at Wimbledon and get in for tickets. And you're on the tube and somebody goes, "Where are you from?" And you go, "I'm from Nebraska." And they go, "Oh, I feel bad for you." And you go, "Why?" And they go, "Because your football team since 2020 is 5-21 in one score games." And you go, "I got you. I know. I would have recited it before you, but you Englishmen, you hit it with me. So easier to rebound from being mediocre or snake-bitten. And y'all may not think that Nebraska is snake-bitten, but facts are facts.
Mm-hmm.
So if Nebraska had been like 3 wins, 4 wins, 5, 4, 4, and thinking to make a jump or trying to figure out why you are so snake-bitten. We've done quarterback play, offense, bad coaching, turnovers, all of that stuff. But everybody else seems to find a way to rebound from a season where the one-score losses don't go their way. And then the next year they flip it. Nebraska is one of the rare programs in America that over this 4-year stretch, they haven't been able to find a way to flip those.
I would have said prior to 21, if you asked me that question, I would have said it would be more difficult to build mediocrity into something of substance because your bad luck element, those rosters aren't always the same every year. So what certain guys experienced, and this gets into the mental part of it too. What some guys experience doesn't mean the new incoming freshmen / new additions, either via transfer portal or junior college guys, are going to experience. You might even also interchange coaching staffs. So that vibe shouldn't always be present to where if you're in the fourth quarter in a nut-cutting type game, that you're going to have maybe different personnel maybe in at least a 2-year span. Fast forward to today now, I think mediocrity without the looming snake bit feel to your program, I think mediocrity is easier to build off of than being able to overcome that snake-bitten feel. And I'll use this as an example. Now, in 21, there was the 3-9 season, and you look at those games going all the way back to the Michigan State game. I mean, you could even chalk up the Oklahoma loss where Nebraska, I think, did more than what we expected on the road in that game, and it got your attention. But then you follow up with Michigan State, where you did, especially defensively, everything that you possibly could do against a very good running back that you essentially shut him down. And it literally comes down to punting to the wrong side of the field. And then the overtime woes continue. And then you beat up on Northwestern, and then there's the Michigan game and what happened there. And then you get into this cycle of a 1-score game to Minnesota, a 1-score game to Purdue, played Ohio State respectable in Lincoln, and then another 1-score game to Wisconsin and Iowa. The point being, if you then fast forward to Matt Rule's staff and what Matt Rule spoke on that topic a year ago, and I understood this, but he was very dismissive of we're bad luck or we're snake bitten, because what would he always say? I wasn't a part of that. And so I don't know that. It's hard for me to, which I totally get. But there was a moment last year where his tone changed, and I can't pinpoint it when he started actually acknowledging, and this was a little bit more in the offseason when he acknowledged it, or postseason, of we need to get over that. And we as a program, not we as a staff or these kids that were a part of that before. And so the fact that he's acknowledging that, I think it's a big part of it. So I would have thought, okay, since you're bringing in new players every other year and guys are going to take on different roles every other year, it'd be easier to overcome the snake-bitten part of it. But we've seen this linger now where it is. I mean, you bring up Brett Ciancia, and I know Bill Conley's talked about it. It's a metrics enigma with what's going on with Nebraska. So until you do overcome that, I think it's much easier to build from mediocrity than to get over the snake-bitten part of it. I truly do. And I would have thought that 5 years ago.
Man, you'd love for all of this stuff to go away. And another part and we'll have Brett on as we get closer to the season to discuss more of this. there are so many cases of people that it's a one-year deal where they turn it around. Because we always say, well, one score losses or wins, they always regress to the mean.
Mm-hmm.
So one year you win 8 one-score games. The next year you're 5-4 in one-score games. Nebraska is an oddity in college football right now, is they can't find a way to flip the script.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with the turnovers too, which usually you chalk that up to there's some luck there. Like remember when it would have been Iowa in 21 or 2, where their defense had an absurd amount of turning teams over, and they returned a lot of people that following year. But I think that the conversation was they're going to be good, but you can't expect that amount of takeaways. It just doesn't work that way. So that'll probably come back. And probably what, Gary? 9 out of 10 times it does do that. So there's that part of the Nebraska equation too, of just the overall turnover margin, which we're waiting for. Some of that is, hey, being careless with the football and not getting enough takeaways, but also some of that's just luck.
What if Nebraska is just mediocre and they actually have had some luck and it could be much worse?
Oh, God. But that's
Now you remind me of the saying, if it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all.
Right.
I've been told that many times in my life.
Well, I'm a true believer that you create your own luck.
Yeah.
Okay, by your actions during the course of a sporting event, in competition, by the way that you approach it, the way you play. I mean, there are some times where we didn't see that coming. We didn't plan for that, and that is an oddity. But I'm a true believer in that you create opportunities, you create your luck. Because if something goes against you, there's got to be a reason behind it.
Yep.
Okay. Why do you have so many turnovers? Well, because we have turned the quarterback into a running back, and we ask him to carry the football 15 times a game. Or we have quarterbacks that do not have football IQ that are like, you know what? Let's just throw it up.
Yeah.
When I was a kid on Maryland Drive in Urbandale playing in the middle of the street, I thought 50-50 was a great
500,
game.
yeah, same thing. We called the 500.
Yeah.
Yep.
Run the ball. Come on.
500. Yeah. That's a good point, because this is where I hope, because I'm not going to say definitively because we need to see more of it. But previous players, even coaches, I don't think that they would ever say this in public, but I think internally they would feel that at times they would succumb to that narrative of the woe is me. God, can we just get a break? Which that's natural. I understand it when it seems like, especially 21 is a great example of that, of, oh my gosh, I'll never forget when Adrian fumbles in what potentially could have been the winning drive, the look on Scott's face of, I've got nothing. I don't even know how to respond to this. Where I think there's a moment of you're succumbing to that narrative of being snake bit, as opposed to your point, Gary, of doing something about it, where you're looking at every little mistake, every little element of why you're coming up short in those games, and you're doing everything in your God-given power, and every player's doing everything in their God-given power to change that narrative, to change that luck. It's one thing to just accept it and say, I mean, what more can we do? It's another thing to be like, there's more that we can do, and we are going to get to the root of this. I feel you have seen a coaching staff, and I almost think in a way it was a little cathartic for Matt Rudy and this coaching staff to accept this is the narrative. We got to work even more hard than we already are to change that narrative. To dismiss it, I get it. Like I said, I totally understood that, because you don't want that on your tab. And I'm not saying all this is on his tab, but some of the areas where they fell short last year, and some of it was because of injuries. Some of it was because they were forced to do certain things at the quarterback position that I think Marcus Satterfield and Matt Rudy ideally would not like to do. But they also acknowledge this is part of what this program is until it isn't. And it's up to us to make sure that it isn't.
All right. Well, Brandon Vogel loves this kind of stuff. So we'll pose that question to him when he joins us coming up at 9:40. Top of the 8 o'clock hour, we'll dive into some golf. The Open begins tomorrow, the final major. Tiger was a little salty. Tiger may have been out of the picture in terms of, competing and winning in about 5 years. But one thing that'll never leave Tiger is, man, he goes Michael Jordan on his enemies.
I can get behind that.
Yep.
Yeah, I love me
and
some
he did that
Tiger.
yesterday with Colin Montgomery. But don't bury the story about Tiger going after Colin Montgomery. talk about the story of how great the accent was from the reporter that asked the question.
Special asking about Colin Montgomery.
That accent is fantastic.
This is why the Open is a lot of fun. People probably never pay attention to a lot of the press conferences during any golf event. I'm with you, man. If there's a press conference, I don't care what golfer it is, just listen to the questions because you are going to get some of the best accents, especially Scotland, the Ireland. Oh, they're fantastic.
Hey, does Tiger look like he's dropped some LBs since Pinehurst?
Yeah, so, and that's true. I guess that is a thing.
Ozempic?
I don't know. He overdid it. This was before.
Everybody says now.
This was before the U.S. Open. He was talking about this. Remember when we saw him at Augusta and he was top heavy yoked?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, he looked like he was doing shoulders and chest twice a day, every day. He essentially admitted that he might have overdid it a little bit on that just because he was trying to make up for the strength. So he's gone a little bit more of the leaning out process. So your eyes are not deceiving you. Yes, he talked about that.
It looks pretty good.
But he was superhero looking at the Masters. Now he's a little bit more, more sleek.
He looks like he's about 15 pounds down from Pinehurst.
I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. Yeah.
When he goes Michael Jordan on his enemies.
He still got that. That's what I like about that.
Yeah, see, holding grudge, it's fun.
Yeah.
See.
All right, 7:44. We'll get more to that coming up at the top of the hour. Not holding the grudges part, Jimmy.
Remember, happy mood today. Great day, beautiful day. Top 10 day.
Hey, it's one of those days. Open the window day.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to Corey who said, "Hey, how's your AC?"
Off.
Yeah,
been off
probably for the year now.
Hey, this would be a good day to have it off.
You wimps out there, put it on this weekend. Not this fellow. And now you've come back to me in the open window time.
Well, the fact that
possible record lows tonight
you
too.
Peaked at 88. I thought this last weekend was hotter, yet somehow you're in the low 80s.
I said the highest was 84.
Yeah.
I managed the.
No, but your peak during the CWS though, right? Was 88.
Yeah.
That was hotter though that Monday. When we
I
had the
thought so.
game.
Yeah.
No, literally. I mean, it was almost 100 that, unless it did hit 100. So I get it.
It's all about moving the blinds, moving the fans.
You got it down to a science, apparently.
It's all a mind thing. It's a mind thing. You know, if you think it's hot, then it's hot. If you don't think it's hot, then it's not hot.
What about when your body is? I mean, when your shirt is literally a pool, yet you're in your mind thinking,
push forward.
Still really cool.
Push
out.
forward. Do another rep.
You know, what did Jimmy Johnson say? Let the mind control the body, not the body control the mind.
It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you guys want to play a game involving Colorado football?
Always.
This is kind of a this is a dangerous game for me to present to both of you guys because you're sports guys.
I think that, by the way, Friday when I play the first game, I think I'm doing an exhibition.
What?
Nebraska, Colorado, just to get warmed up.
Okay.
Just to get warmed up.
Thought you were going to play FCS Southeast.
You waited a decade and you're going to play an exhibition?
I got to refamiliarize myself with the controls. I can't go into a season not knowing what I'm doing.
Just go to a GameStop and practice on some games so you get the fingers going.
You do got to have a walkthrough, though.
Stop it. Yes. Just stop into a GameStop and do a little. I like that. Do a little walkthrough. See if
we can go take a whiteboard and
see if the digits still have the same type of control that they did back in the day when I was running a successful dynasty.
Can you guys name any Colorado football players that are not Sanders or Hunter?
Coy Detmer?
No, current team.
Damn.
Current team. This should be a game on the streets.
Oh, God, the linebacker.
You could even play this in Boulder. Can you name a current Colorado Buffalo that does not have the last name Sanders or Hunter?
Dion named some dudes last week, but I didn't write them down.
It's going to take me a while to get to that name, so damn it, no, not right now. Okay. There's two guys in particular that I'm actually kicking myself.
I was just doing a temp check.
Okay.
That was a fun game.
I listened to Kirby. Pick up your prize on the way out. I listened to the Kirby Smart appearance yesterday at the SEC Media Days.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgia's going to be good. They got Carson Beck, who is not really recognizable.
He's driving a Lambo.
Okay, so big thing around Georgia football right now is guys that like to speed.
Mm-hmm.
They had two people associated with the program that lost their lives, and now you just had two more recently that were arrested. And it is a talking point around Georgia, and Kirby Smart addressed it about fines, NIL fines. He hasn't suspended any players from games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised, and it's not just a college football thing, but it is a young people thing. Because I hear it in my neighborhood because I live next to a street where you could just crank it up.
Yep.
And there's a stretch where you're going downhill, and I hear more motorcycles than I do cars, but I can hear people racing.
Mm-hmm.
That this doesn't happen more often. That we do not hear more about athletes, because we hear 18 to 20-year-olds getting arrested or ticketed for racing. And, you know, if you're, like, I think Georgia kids got a little idle time. You got a car, okay? So when you're racing and you burn 4 tires, that's not on me. I mean, that's on the NIL people. That we don't hear about more student athletes in these kind of situations where they're pulled over for racing going 140.
Yeah.
I'm really kind of surprised because there is the attraction. I think we had it when we were young, when we first got into driving. We were attracted to speed.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't like crank it up and go, can I see if I can get to 100?
Yeah. I was limited to what my 85 celebrity station wagon could do, but yes, I would try to push the limits of it.
I'm surprised we don't hear about this more. Because people are getting cars now.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting fancy cars that when you hop in, the speedometer goes to 140.
Yep.
Give them a Prius. That's the punishment.
Now, I'm not advocating this, and there are people that are no longer with us because they have done this. I thought this would be more of a thing.
I understand your point on it from the standpoint of if you go to a high school parking lot when school is in session and you just drive around the parking lot, first of all, people might think you're weird, but noticing the cars that are there look a lot different than the hand-me-down from the hand-me-down that we got.
The 92
for
Taurus.
Yes.
And
Literally,
88 Cavalier.
My first car was an 85 wood-paneled station wagon.
Like a damn tank.
It had the gunner seats in the back. So my first actual car that was my own car was an 88 Honda Civic, which I got in 1996, and it was a stick shift.
Hit a wall, and the wall gives way.
But now you look at it, and I remember my first day going to Millard West when it had just opened, and our joke was it looked like a Lexus dealership because there were kids that were driving pretty nice cars. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward, and I know that's not the case everywhere.
Rolling in with Fantastic Voyage, just
actually, it probably was. Now you see a lot of those cars, newer cars, even the cars that are the quote, the hand-me-downs are still pretty nice. But you're right about what you wanted to do with that car, regardless of what type of shape it was in, what type of model it was. You saw that speedometer, you wanted to see, at least at some point while you're driving it, that could you push the boundaries of that? And I remember the first time that I ever did that, that's probably maybe 18.
You blow the ass end out of the car.
Oh, no, I started going fast to the point that I got really scared. And I was like, okay, not doing that again. And I was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And I unfortunately had a friend a couple years after we all graduated high school, was in a very isolated country road in Iowa, and he lost control on a turn and he lost his life. I think many people have experienced that, where I think that does open your eyes to it a little bit more. But then I think you tend to forget, because when I lived a little bit closer to Maple, I would hear between the motorcycles and just cars, you could hear that revving from basically 9 o'clock at night to 1 a.m. of the sound of engines just roaring through Maple Street, going down Maple Street.
We were 18. It's the thrill of it, the speed.
Yeah.
I don't think this is just a Georgia thing. It has become a Georgia thing, and it gets more attention. And probably Kirby doesn't have a great relationship with Clark County.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's
other coaches that when there's no drinking involved and it's just speeding.
Yeah.
Okay. The thrill of, I got this 2024, let's say Lexus,
right,
that's been given to me as my NIL. I want to see how fast this goes. Not drinking, just the thrill of the speed.
I'm going to push it.
I can't believe this is just a Georgia thing.
No. Because he's right. We were all guilty of doing dumb stuff when we were younger.
I don't think it is. Honestly, Gary, I don't think it is.
Scary as hell. And there are guys at Georgia apparently have not learned the lesson of what this program's gone through. And I don't know what Kirby's next spot is, but it can't be just a Georgia thing, because it's an 18 to 22-year-old thing when you have a car. And especially in that situation, when most of these guys are not getting an 89 Honda Civic as part of their NIL deal.
Right. I would think that it is.
Did it have AC?
It is more. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
The best day in the world was when I put in a CD player. That was cool. I think it probably does happen everywhere else. I think the reason, and you kind of alluded to this too, is that you had a fatality in that type of setting, that now anything that is a moving violation, a speeding ticket, reckless driving, whatever it might be, that's going to be amplified and put on Georgia's tab because of the tragedy that took place. You could go to Florida, you could go to South Carolina, hell, you could go to Nebraska, and there could be maybe not the same number, maybe the same number of violations, and it's not heard about because you've been fortunate enough not to have lost to any members of your athletic programs, whether we're talking football or any other sport. So I do think it is something, because I thought what Carson Beck said, again, Carson Beck drives a Lamborghini, but I thought what he said was actually really cool, that, yeah, you can use the fact that we're getting these cars from NIL, but it's an excuse. We're all making the decision when we get behind the wheel of what we're doing with that car. I know people are saying, hey, are they crossing the line with NIL fines on this? I think you're right now, you're Kirby Smart. You're trying to do anything you can. They're bringing in the people who taught his kids how to drive. The driver's education instructors that taught Kirby Smart's kids how to drive are now helping and coming in and speaking to people who should know better.
Yeah, they're not learning. This isn't hey, you got to put on your turn signal when you turn left. When it's a one-way, if you're in the right-hand lane, can you turn or do you have to wait? This is just having some common sense.
Yeah. You get to a certain speed where, as cool as it might be, you realize your control is rapidly decreasing.
And you also have to, this is another part of this. So that Athens is located in Clark County. They're on the lookout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're on the lookout. They're not just going to wait until you crank it up to 140.
Right.
They're now on the lookout for you because of past transgressions. But it can't be just a Georgia thing. We're 18 to 22. We got this great car, and we don't have to worry about burning 4 tires because it's not on our tab.
Yeah.
Mom and dad aren't picking it up. I want to see how this goes. I'm not advocating it, but that's what we did. I admit it. I didn't have a great car, but I wanted to see, man, how fast we could go from Des Moines to Ames. Could I make it from Des Moines to Ames in 15 minutes by driving on I-35 could I go 95, 100 miles an hour?
Yep.
The answer is yes, and the car was shaking, and I backed her way down.
Yep, because it gets scary.
We'll talk some golf coming up next. Matt Rudy joins us on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Omaha Whiskey 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region, coming your way September 28th. And we will be having coming your way here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley Whiskey Wednesdays. Stay tuned for that.
We will be drinking whiskey tomorrow morning, or scotch or whatever, because the old course at Royal Troon Golf Club, the site of this week's British Open, or to some, the Open. So it's a good time to catch up with our good friend who does such a fabulous job at Golf Digest, the senior writer, Matt Rudy. Good morning, Matt. Welcome back to 1620 The Zone in Omaha.
How are you? How's
Good.
it going today?
When we look at this, and for some, this is because of the elements and the course and the history. This might be major favorite number 2 behind Augusta. So as I look at the course and listening to players talk, are you more intrigued at Royal Troon this week by the 123-yard postage stamp at 8 or the 623-yard Turnberry at 6?
I think the postage stamp gets most of the love, and it's easy to understand why, because tour players are very rarely tested by short shots. Generally speaking, if you're putting a wedge in a PGA Tour player's hand or a European Tour player's hand, that's basically just go down over to the green and set it down where you want to set it. But what's so cool about this event, broadly, like you were suggesting just a second ago, is that the course itself is a character in the drama, a lot like Augusta National is. So when you're playing under really diverse conditions and the wind's blowing and the turf is firm, and there's a lot more that goes into the decision making. And I think that's what people like to watch. When you get to Amen Corner at Augusta National, it's not just, dial up a stock shot and hit it. You have to make some choices. And I think great venues and great tournaments, they compel you to make choices and give you the option where you could hit a heroic shot and you can make a birdie and you can do something great. But if you make a poor decision or a poor swing, you can do something that shoots you out of it. And I personally, I much prefer that than watching what the U.S. Open used to be, for example, where it was, okay, I have one shot that I can hit it right down the middle, and I'm going to go find it in the driveway and hit it again. And so I love this event, and I love the options that it forces players to choose from.
Okay, and you bring up the shot selection, the choices that are made, especially in unique golf settings. This is where I want to start with Scotty Scheffler. I don't hear as many people jumping on board, and maybe it's just because it's a given that we know Scotty's going to contend, and so we want to look at other options because the Open gives you other options. But Scotty's game, we would assume that he'll putt better than he did at Pinehurst. But when it comes to his ability to know where to miss, how much of that at this particular golf setting can be a strength to him, or is it as big of a factor as it is at other courses for Scotty Scheffler and something that really makes him stand out?
Plus, I don't think he's going to get arrested this week. That's another.
Let's hope not.
I think that, and he said this really well the other day in his press conference, he plays golf more as an artist than a technician, and he likes to see shots. He likes the curve shots, and that by itself, to your point, when you come to an event and the wind is really blowing, and you have to be able to look up and see a shot, visually curving in the air because of the wind, and be okay with that. I mean, there are players, and Bubba Watson is a perfect example. He's a guy who has historically loved to hit big curving shots, and he's comfortable with seeing those kinds of curves. But if the conditions get a little bit funky and there's some water on the ball, there's some other issue, he doesn't deal with that as well. And I think what Scotty does well, he understands the places you can miss and you can't. He has a world-class short game, which is a big deal. And as you said, the putting was just the piece that was missing. But the interesting thing broadly about golf, and Tiger obviously is the big exception, but I think he's the exception to everything, is it's hard to stay on a heater. By definition, a heater is something that isn't permanent. You have a run, and then it's like you're looking at a bell curve, and you kind of go back to your normal performance. So I think what'll be interesting to watch at the Open Championship is are we still on the heater, or was the U.S. Open kind of the tail end, and then he went home to recharge a little bit. He's got a new baby at home. What does that kind of change in life and change in pattern and change in schedule mean for his level at this tournament. So you're not wrong. If you're picking a betting favorite, he's the betting favorite. But guys like Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Oberg, those guys have played great in all the majors this year. So you got to look at players like that. You got to look at a player like Bryson just because of what he did at the U.S. Open. All those guys are form picks. In addition to Scotty's the best player in the world.
So you followed him for a long time. Let's talk about Rory, Matt. So he's getting right back on the horse. He's got a chance to break that decade-long major drought. I don't need to see him leaning up against the Coke machine again. That was not good. But he had the ideal prep at the Scottish Open. He has a couple of podium finishes, 3 other top 6 finishes in the Open. First, let's do the 2 things here. One, your reaction to how that all unfolded for him, and then what to expect out of him over the next 4 days.
It's interesting. I believe that whether you're talking about golf or any other Olympic sport, you name it, it's such a big deal to get over the hump and to win for the first time, and it's such an advantage to be able to take that experience with you the next time you do it. It was such a recurring advantage for Tiger to go play on Sunday at a major, having won a bunch of them with nothing else to prove, because he could be so comfortable. But the problem for Rory, I think it's been so long now, there's almost more pressure on him than if he'd never won a major. This is no longer, hey, he could win his first one. This is, I haven't won one in 10 years, and I feel like I should have won more. And so I think the mental piece of that is more difficult than it is, say, for Victor Hovland, who's still got a lot of runway in front of him and is trying to win the first one. So I don't think he has figured out what the run up to these is to metabolize something like that happened at the U.S. Open, where he was so close. And he was close last year at the U.S. Open, and he's been close at a bunch of different majors, and he's tried everything. He's tried playing a bunch. He's tried playing very little. And I think he's trying to change around those exterior factors to see what puts him in the best space to win one of these things. And honestly, I think that the way it's going to work for him is going to be more like what we saw at Pinehurst, where realistically speaking, Bryson had one of the hardest shots you're ever going to see to get up and down to win a U.S. Open. And, someone's going to give him one. Someone's going to give Rory one like that, where you can't get up and down from that place and make a double like you're supposed to make from that spot. Right. And, and he's going to win it that way, because that's always an option. You don't have to always go out and shoot like Henrik Stenson. Henrik Stenson had to shoot 63 because Phil Mickelson went crazy the last time we were at Troon, and he had to go win it. But it's just as likely that you could play solid golf and somebody else makes a mistake and you can win one that way.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I think of Rory in 2 particular examples. The U.S. Open, where I thought he actually on that Sunday in contention made putts that he needed to up until the infamous 2 that you, myself, Gary, are probably making more than 50% of the time as well.
Well, yeah. One of them, yeah. The first one was an easy one. That one on 18 was nasty.
And he wanted,
you're right.
And you could tell, Matt, he wanted no part of that one. And that was you almost knew that was coming because the amount of time that he spent over that one. But I take that example, but then I go to 2022, where he goes into that Sunday where it's his to lose. Cameron Smith does enough in that one, and Rory didn't play bad, but if you remember, he didn't make birdie putts. He had a lot of opportunities, and he just didn't do anything. So if he's in a similar position, whether it's Cam Smith or anyone else, that is pushing and Rory's needing to hold on, Rory from 2022 and Rory to 2024, is there anything different? Because I thought in the U.S. Open, he actually made some of those putts leading into that back 9.
Yeah, and it's hard too, because it's an ever-changing canvas. The golf course is a changing canvas. The greens at St. Andrews, I think what made the 2022 thing so stark is that the greens there are flat. I mean, there's putts to be made, and the conditions were such that the birdies were available to be made, and it was not like that at Pinehurst. It was a harder, right. The canvas was more difficult. So I think it depends on what the conditions are. You've got great rounds that you can play, where you're posting a score in very difficult conditions and you're better than everybody else, and then you have track meets where everybody's making birdies. And then, I think that what makes golf so fascinating is you've got to plug in what you have to the canvas that everybody else is playing to. And I mean, there's no doubt that Rory has all the firepower necessary and all the skill. He's got everything you need to do this, but he's got to do it, and then he's got to contend with a bunch of other people. I mean, would any of us be surprised if Oberg went out and shot 4 rounds in the 60s and won his first major? No. I mean, and Rory might be able to do something about that, but then he might be like Phil at Troon last time, where he shot the lowest score in major championship history, except for the guy he played against who was 2 shots better. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, that's just sometimes it's just not your week. And so and the way Rory's judged is a lot like now is a lot like the way Greg Norman has historically been judged, which is you won some, but did you win enough? And I mean, that's a tough bar because it's somebody else setting the bar for you.
Matt Rudy from Golf Digest joining us. So a little bit on what you just mentioned leads me to this question, and it's particular about the Open and hoisting the claret jug. When we look at majors, we're like, well, what is your experience like? Do you have experience of what it's like to close somebody out on Sunday? Is that going to give you an advantage? Why do you think at the Open we've seen a trend where it doesn't necessarily, you have to have a major to be successful at the Open? We're seeing more newcomers that their first major is actually the claret jug. Any rhyme or reason to that around the Open?
Well, I think a great example last year, Brian Harmon. The conditions were terrible.
Yep.
And if you're a player who can kind of stay inside himself and accept that and embrace it even, you already have a big advantage compared to other players who don't have that same gear. And, Brian Harmon has always been a grinder who's trying to extract the most out of his game that he can. And he's a player that embraces those kinds of conditions. And so I think at the Open Championship, you can get more curveballs at other places. I mean, Augusta is hermetically sealed. The conditions are perfect. Even when the weather's bad, the conditions are perfect. And it takes something different there. And part of what's rewarding about major championships, if they hold to form, is that there are 4 different experiences like that in the year. Ideally, they're asking you for different things. And, I think players that come into a week and they're in form, which you need to have that. And if the conditions present themselves in a way that suits what you like, you got to have that too. And, and I think you're always trying to find things out about who you are. Look at Jordan Spieth. He exploded out of the beginning of his career and won all these majors. And it was a momentum thing. All of a sudden you realize that you can do it and you keep doing it. Victor Hovland was killing everybody last year at the end of the season. And he was the best player in the world. Then he lost it for a little while. And now the questions that he's asking himself this week are, okay, which player am I? Am I the player that was killing it at the Tour Championship, or am I the guy that shot 82 earlier this year? And that's those are all fascinating questions that we get to watch and see how they're answered.
You brought Ludwig Åberg up. I've been on him since the Masters because I thought he was, quite honestly, a product of bad luck on a ball that if it bounces right, it's on the green. If it unfortunately bounces into Rays Creek and all of a sudden he's chasing a bigger number there. He's played phenomenally. Weekends at moments have gotten away from him, but he's a guy I can't imagine isn't at the top of everyone's list looking at this weekend. If Ludwig Åberg is holding a claret jug, where do you think it happens for him on a Saturday or Sunday?
Talking about him is a lot like talking about Xander Schauffele a few years ago, where you're when you see the talent and you see the skill, and then you see someone perpetually putting themselves in position. Schauffele was paired with Tiger when Tiger was on his last real run at the Open Championship to try to win. He was in that pairing, and it didn't bother him the least. He went out there and hit his shots. And when you see that, and that's what Åberg is like. When you watch, he's unfazed. He's smiling. He's fist bumping people in the crowd. The moment is not too big for him, and so that's not really the issue. Any player is going to have shots that don't come off the way they want, and that they're not going to win the tournament. But what I think the pattern you are looking for with those kinds of players Those players, if they perpetually are putting themselves in position, if they're shooting those scores, if they embrace the spotlight. It took Scotty Scheffler a year and a half before he won on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was talking about when it was going to happen for him. And then when it happened for him, he won a bunch. He's winning everything. So I think that's the same sort of pattern we're looking at with Oberg. Assuming his knee, he's had some knee problems. Assuming he's physically okay, then I think it's just a question of putting yourself in that position again and hitting the shots that you know how to hit. There's no fear.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing like a 10-year veteran, and it's cool to see.
Nick brought him up earlier, and he's 40-1 in some places. He's 50-1 in another. But I look at Tony Finau, Matt, and I go, wow, he's got the game and how it relates to Royal Troon. He missed the cut last year, but he's always been really good in this event. Is this the year that it matches up where Tony Finau is playing late on, or in our terms, late on Sunday in one of the final pairings?
Oh, I think it matches up at the number. At the 40-1 number. And to me, it's like if when the odds got so good, for example, with Scotty Scheffler at Pinehurst, you could have gotten Brooks Koepka say at 40-1. And if you can put money on a guy who's clearly a performer in major championships, that's not the same pattern for Finau. But if you can get that money on someone who's obviously in that, and I put Finau in the same category that Schauffele was before winning the PGA, which is in that category of guys that are kind of the next player up to do this for the first time. So if you're not going to put your money on, the easy demonstrable favorites, and I would put Scheffler and Morikawa and Oberg in that group with McIlroy. Finau is right there in that next tier, and someone like Koepka too is in that same tier. When you've proven that it's irrelevant what you do in any regular tour event, and that major championships are the place for you, I think you have to take that seriously every major you play, especially if it's not going to be a track meet. If it's going to be tough conditions, a guy like Koepka is the guy you want to put money on.
European players that are more accustomed to link settings with the weather as well, maneuvering through this. I look at Gary brought him up earlier when we were talking about this Tommy Fleetwood, which I think you look at the odds to are pretty solid. Shane Lowry, I think, would also be another guy that you look at. I want to ask you about one person in particular, given the fact that he's been around in other than what Robert McIntyre did last week. Boy, Adam Scott's in a good position to get a pretty significant victory. Where's Adam Scott's game, in your opinion, and going into this event?
It's hard to think about Adam Scott just in the same way. I put him in the same category as Ricky Fowler. They've been around for so long, and visually what they do looks so similar, not to each other, but to their own selves from 20 years ago. So you watch Adam Scott hit balls, and you're like, man, the guy doesn't miss a shot. How does he not win everything? Yeah. Ricky Fowler the same way. He's seemingly been in position every year for 20 years. But the problem is, what's different this week that's going to put them in position that hasn't put them in position more than they've been in. So I don't see any delta or change factor for those players that would make me any more likely to support them than I would be last week or last year. So, McIntyre is a great story. He's won twice this year. The problem for me with him is he said that the biggest tournament in his career that you could possibly win, that he always wanted to win, was the Scottish Open. So if you did,
he's gonna be hungover.
If you just climbed Mount Everest last week, someone said you got to climb Mount Everest again this week. I don't know. I'm not so sure that would be where I would put my money.
Right.
Hey, great stuff, Matt. We always appreciate it. Enjoy the last major, and we'll touch base after. We got things to talk about after the majors, but we always appreciate it.
See you guys.
It's Matt Rudy from Golf Digest. I like Koepka. So, we're on a little bit of a trend. So Koepka standards a bad year. I don't think he's been in the 3 majors in the top 25.
Yeah.
And might have a little bit to playing on the Live Tour. You have to say that.
Yeah.
But think about the majors this year. We've always had like a surprise star that reappears. Morikawa at the Masters, excuse me. Hovland was at the PGA.
Yep.
Just recently at the U.S. Open, Cantlay. So why can't Koepka be a star that has reemerged? I mean, he's been pretty good. His record at the Open speaks for itself.
Yeah, and I think Koepka, based on getting the PGA last year, I think sort of reintroduced himself because remember, I mean, his knee was shredded too, and so we learned a lot about that part of Brooks Koepka's game. It's an interesting list because I'm interested from the standpoint of the way JT played last weekend. He's been fighting it big time. The Jordan Spieth roller coaster. These types of golf courses can sometimes unlock a little bit of that. I wouldn't put money on Jordan at all, but there's also guys that are lying in the weeds a little bit. It's a good point about Cantlay, though, because he's another guy that I think about in the same vein as Xander Schauffele, and as we were talking about Adam Scott just there too. When you watch Patrick Cantlay, there's not many shots that he misses. Mm-hmm. You know, the dude is usually dialed in. So it's an interesting concept of guys that you think if they could get across the finish line, and we saw that with Ricky Fowler last year, coming up just short with Wyndham Clark, but then the following week he wins in Detroit. So it's not even if you win the event, if you get that unexpected top 5 finish, how that can put it right back into where you're confident you're going to the next event, you're playing in the FedEx Cup, playoffs, whatever lies ahead for you, and all of a sudden you get on a run because and this course is so unique because of the conditions that you're going to face as well. So that creativity, all of the different parts of what we're used to at the challenges that exist at a U.S. Open as opposed to the challenges that exist at Augusta, they're all unique to certain players. And that's why I'm with you. This is my second favorite from the standpoint of it's wide open. Mm-hmm. I mean, it truly is based on how you're going to play through certain conditions.
And we don't want Rory to win. Rory McIlroy is a better story when he doesn't win and continues a decade drought of not getting another major. That's like Greg Norman. Both fantastic golfers in their own right, but the drama of coming close and not winning, I think, is a better story. Now, I might be the guy that, drives by accidents and stairs because I like train wrecks. I think the Rory coming close is a better story for golf than the Rory winning and Grand Slam and all of those things. Just my personal, because look at the reaction to Norman. And McIlroy is more popular than Norman. But Rory's whole package of the divorce, non-divorce, coming up short, changing his phone, leaving the course early, that's a better story than Rory winning and, oh my gosh, there he is. He's got one, the decade's over.
Well, and that's the part of Rory's defeats now is he gets eaten up by it now because we know Rory is a great golfer. We know Rory is an accomplished golfer because of the majors that he's won, but it's been so long that it does feel like he's chasing his first one again. And when it's one thing if he's top 25 but was never in contention, but the U.S. Open example, the 2022 example when he lost to Cameron Smith, those defeats as he continues to progress through his career are getting at him so much more that you're typically going to get a story out of it. You're going to get a reaction out of it because I was actually, it's funny you bring that up. I was thinking about this as we're getting ready to talk to Matt Rudy, and I didn't ask Matt Rudy this, but I'm really curious on what the tone would be if Rory did win. Would it be this great celebration and now we're doing the whole chronological order of the great accomplishments that Rory McIlroy has, or is it he's been so close we've just been waiting for it to happen that it's a little bit more ho-hum as opposed to what you're bringing up if he finishes runner-up again? Because I think you're probably right. There's going to be more of the storyline and probably more reaction if he comes up just short as opposed to knocking another one down.
Yeah. Greg Norman has lived off of the heartbreak.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy has, for a decade, lived off the heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him in the final pairing on Sunday. But if he does, I mean, make sure you got everything bolted down.
Let me ask you this real quick. If you are Scotty's a bad example because Scotty's a robot, but say you are Colin Morikawa. Say you are, okay, here's a good one. Say if you're Ludwig Oberg and Rory is charging, does anybody on tour right now fear a Sunday Rory? Because I don't think they do.
No.
you've got to have a track record of that, and I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, I don't think the young Swede would be like, oh, my God.
Oh, here comes Rory. He doesn't talk like that. But.
Winner gets his wife. All right, 8:31.
Now they'll watch.
Whoa!
Tyson Lewis will join us coming up at 9.
Soon, man.
Former Millard West shortstop who is headed off to play pro ball. Brandon Vogel as well on 1620 The Zone. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in on a Wednesday. Where have you been? We got Tyson Lewis coming up top of the hour from Millard West, Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. And also, everybody get yourself ready. It's another day of playing the game online. The real copy comes out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? Hat tip to all of you out there that are 9-to-5ers. We want you to be 6A to 6P'ers.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever Jimmy and his show stops by, we'd like you to go a little bit longer.
As the sports schedule allows.
But you 9-to-5ers, you are living the dream this week because you get to come home and you may have a lovely family at home.
Yeah.
You love your kids. You love your wife, whatever's going on in your house. But you know what has made it extra special this week for the 9-to-5ers? Because when they've come home the last couple of days, they walk in the door and it's time to just destroy a random fifth grader playing college football 25.
I think actually we have it good because when we get home, you got a lot of those punks that are on vacation right now, summer vacation. You get to get after them now too.
I won't put these guys on blast, but I was around a collection of student athletes yesterday, and so we were talking about the game.
Yeah,
a lot of them were like, "Oh yeah, I played from 3 to 11,
3 a.m. to 11."
I was like, "Okay, all right." So you know what? Good on you. Hey,
yeah,
this is a game where it's no holds barred. If you get a mouthy fifth grader that's on the other end, destroy him.
Yep.
Destroy him. Run up the score. All right?
It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah. Instead of running up the score, take a kneel down on the one to end the game.
Oh, just twist it a little bit. Just twist that dagger a little bit.
Jimmy, I'm going to need some earmuffs from you as a diehard KU fan because I'm going to say something nice about Mizzou.
I may agree.
Okay.
Maybe.
So, Missouri football, I might tell everybody.
I disagree with that in general.
I might tell everybody to put some earmuffs on because you don't want to hear this. The Missouri Tigers, with their schedule, and because the playoff is expanded and a 9-win season could get you in, the Missouri Tigers could make the playoff this year. They got some dudes. Now, you know how Missouri football has climbed the hill. They're the hill in the end zone at Faurot Field.
Oh, yeah.
They went 5, then they went 6, and then they went 6, and old Eli was on the hot seat. And then last year they won 11. I don't know if you guys remember that bowl game against Ohio State?
I didn't watch.
Now, this year, they are projected to be double-figure wins again. They have been given a schedule this year that is very manageable. But Mizzou football is in a great spot. Can't believe I'm saying this, but it's going to make sense here in just a moment.
Jack Harry right now.
They are in a state that doesn't produce as many blue chippers as Texas. So Texas has, most recent recruiting cycle, 57 blue chippers. The state of Missouri, as much as we love Missouri and we hire their high school football coaches to be at Nebraska, it is still a single-digit state in terms of true blue chippers. But Eli is on a roll where they're keeping a lot of those guys home, whether they're in St. Louis, Kansas City, Jefferson City, or hanging out down in Joplin.
That's what Pinnacle did.
Which is, by the way, Joplin, Missouri, just recovering from just a devastating tornado went through there.
Yep.
You know the people that sell meat in the parking lots that we do stuff with?
Yes, they are.
They're based in Joplin.
Yes, they are.
How about that?
There's a little fact that you can share with your coworkers today.
When you go buy an 18-wheeler and you buy meat, you know where they hail from.
Joplin's one of those places you stop off if you're driving between here and Tulsa. And if you are, I'll tell you what route to go.
No, don't. Please don't.
It's faster. Even Schlechter said that when he came up from Tulsa. But Mizzou also, with this building and some dudes and a guy that can recruit, and they are blocking down the borders of the players that they specifically want. They also have a really, really good NIL package. They have people that are like, we're in it to win it, but more importantly,
fireworks.
They have a university that has become very aggressive and progressive in how they're doing their NIL, working with their collective. So, with that said, you cannot ignore Mizzou, but is the potential next Missouri in college football located, well, if you drive 70 and then you hit Kansas City and you drive up 29 and then you get off on 2 and you drive towards Lincoln, could Nebraska be the next Missouri? And think about 5, 6, 6, 11. That's year 4. Rules only going into year 2. But why I say possibly Nebraska is this standpoint. Missouri finally said we're a development program.
Yep.
It's taken Nebraska football way too long to say those words, to look in the mirror and go, we're a developmental program. They have finally done that. They also, Mizzou is starting to take advantage of their conference. Does Nebraska on the recruiting trail ever take advantage of being in the Big Ten? You ever hear recruits say, I'm coming to Nebraska because they play in the Big Ten?
Not high on the not high on the priority list. No,
you don't ever really hear that.
No,
but Mizzou is selling the SEC. Oh, by the way, we're in the SEC. Okay, and we had an 11-win season, so they sell the conference.
We were in the easier division too.
But here's why I also think a big step for Mizzou. The timing was right. They got their NIL right, and the university got behind it. Now they have more oil wells in the state of Missouri.
That's true.
Than we do here. We have wind turbines. They have other ways to make money in Mizzou. Okay, we have
cattle.
They do some weird stuff down in the Ozarks.
We do have cattle,
as I learned from a series. But think about it.
Actually shot in Georgia.
If Missouri is doing what they are, where they're located in that state, which is larger than Nebraska, why can't Nebraska be the next Missouri? There are really good in-state players. Nebraska's done a fairly good job of locking down the borders of guys they want. They got a head coach who can recruit. They got a program that now says we're a development program. And they finally got their NIL figured out, where they have a lot of momentum behind the scenes of people they're getting in front of, and the university and the collective working together. So why can't Nebraska be the next Missouri?
I like the comp from the standpoint of, when I think of that question, you immediately think of, okay, who are you comparing the program to, and who is the head of that program? And I think with Eli Drinkwitz, his comfortable in his own skin, understanding what they are, what they aren't. More to your point of understanding that they're a development school. And I always wondered about this with Missouri, that if they had a little bit of fool's gold when they first joined the SEC, that it took them a little bit longer to get to that realization that, unlike Texas A&M, who struggled early in the transition to the SEC, Missouri actually had a little bit of success there under Gary Pinkel before they had to take a major step back.
SEC championship game early on in their transition, because their first year they won 5, to your point, Nick, and then they went 12 wins, 11 wins.
Yeah. And so I think when you get that type of success early on, that sometimes your realization can get a little blurry, or it might take you a little bit longer to reach that conclusion. But anyway, going back to the coaches, understanding your surroundings, understanding the type of athlete that you can attract and the type of athlete that you can develop in a conference. Now, I do think it's a big part of what Missouri's doing, of being able to use the SEC, the competition, where you're going to be playing, and the type of caliber player you're going to be up against helps. But I do think the NIL part of it, Matt Rule being aligned with it, athletic director being aligned with that, having that ability with a reputation too, that anytime Nebraska's NIL is brought up, it's always brought up in high regard. But as I'm listening to Kirby Smart talk about this yesterday, a very similar situation when it does come to the NIL of, come here and you will earn it, but you will get it too. As we said, retain and reward, I think is how you put it. I think there's a lot more defining things about Nebraska football going into just year 2 under Matt Rule. So, and I think where Missouri, other than the obvious of getting guys, you have your trigger man and Brady Cook, but having guys that are going to be able to win you football games, but also having the definitive parts of your program that you know exactly what you're going to get out of it. And it's kind of weird to say this. I feel like Nebraska is closer to that going into the second year under Matt Rule than we probably were under Scott Frost going into year 4, as far as definitive roles of the entire program. And I'm talking about just what players, what they're going to be doing, but what can you expect from this part of it when it comes to NIL? What can you expect from this part of it when it comes to your schedule? How are you? What's the recruiting plan going to be? We've talked about this a lot of, okay, when we are recruiting you, what type of plan are we laying out? I feel like Nebraska is a lot closer to that. And I think that's another thing Missouri has done very well, where you see guys that get really attracted to Missouri because that open communication is there. And it's not a lot of bull crap with Eli Drinkwitz. It's confidence in where they're going, not necessarily leaning on the past of what they've done. And I think that's where Matt Rule and this Nebraska program is too. I think year 2 is going to tell you everything you need to know about this question.
A little trivia question here. Since 2000, how many double-figure win seasons does Mizzou have? How many double-figure win seasons does Nebraska have? And while you think about that, let me read an email from John into the Equitable Bank inbox. I don't want to live in a world where the mouth-breathing cousin Mariers make the college football playoff.
Thank you. F those guys. Exactly. That's what I was hearing.
That's an email from.
But I agree with your point.
From Jay Chavez.
No, because I would
You snuck that in there on your burner account.
Double figure victory season since 2000.
I have a feeling you're not going to like the number.
Mizzou and Nebraska might be a trick question. Think about it. Not till 10, but
let's see. Missouri since 2000. I'm going to say 7.
Jimmy?
5.
Oh, you guys are like Nebraska football in 2023. They've had 6.
6, okay.
Okay. How many double-figure win seasons for Nebraska since 2000?
8.
2.
Oh, you guys are playing. If we were playing back in the old schedule, back in the day, and we had a game that was lost due to COVID, we'd only be playing 10 games. Nebraska has had 6.
Okay.
No. 6 and 6.
Now, Mizzou had 11 wins last year. Nebraska's last double-figure win season was 2012.
Oh, let's do national championships.
Now, Chris brings up a question about Mizzou this year. So the Mizzou schedule actually is really, really good. Like if you're schedules is everything. Schedules matter. Put that on a hat. Schedules matter because if by chance you are given a schedule that allows you to keep your head above water and you avoid some teams that have been a pain in the butt, you have to take advantage of it. So Mizzou got a nice little schedule this year. Chris wonders why one part of Mizzou's schedule. Speaking of Mizzou, can you guys have an investigation on who in their athletic department agreed to play UMass this year? How does that happen? Well, I have the answer.
Bill Snyder says, what? What's the big deal here?
Missouri is playing UMass in a home-and-home this year and next year. This year, Mizzou has to go to Amherst, Mass. We are talking about Missouri in the SEC playing a road game against a non-Power 5.
They're not going to...
And not at Foxborough.
Yeah, they're not going to Foxborough.
Yeah. Now, next year, the Minutemen come to Columbia. Guess what?
Move it to Arrowhead.
Next season, guess where Mizzou opens up their season?
At home against UMass?
In Laramie.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's right.
Let's go, Cowboys.
So the reason why these are on the schedule and Mizzou has not been able to get out of them, which goes back to their former athletic director, Mike Alden, did these deals.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
Men of honor, though. Did they already send the check too?
So I think also on their schedule, Missouri is scheduled to play at Miami of Ohio.
At Miami of Ohio?
At Miami of Ohio.
Let's go, Big Ben.
Jesus.
Wait, he's not there.
So,
now, but here's, I don't know what their philosophy was, but Mizzou has done this in the past where they schedule road games against inferior opponents.
Yeah.
I don't know if they think they're getting like a bonus when the committee gets together in Indianapolis and puts together the field of 68 or whatever, but they do kind of have a history.
Remember
But
Troy State?
The reason they're doing UMass and Wyoming is that's what their old athletic director liked to do before Drinkwitz got there.
What do you think Nebraska fans would think if they did play in Laramie the one year.
Which was, nice trip and great for the people in Western Nebraska and the fans that are in Wyoming or in Colorado, but Nebraska should not be playing in a non-Power 5.
Yeah.
Play a neutral. If you're going to play, I'm playing a neutral game. You're not going to Hattiesburg anymore.
What if Nebraska, with that Akron game that never happened, they had a home and home where they were going to play at Akron the following year, and they honored the deal?
It was in Cleveland. If you were playing at the Brown Stadium,
yeah,
I'd be all for it.
But if you're actually playing in the the home stadium of one of the MAC teams. That wouldn't fly.
No.
It wouldn't happen. Well,
Not
it
going to
wouldn't happen.
Ypsilanti?
I would say what kids say today. Are you guys a serious program?
Yeah, that would be. That would be. But
Oh, you're going to say bet.
so they got what Murray. They have Murray State on the.
I've been to Murray, Kentucky. Can you imagine Mizzou fans in Murray, Kentucky?
I mean, they might fit in.
Well,
if they went to
Some
Murray
of the
State,
fan base.
yes.
I will never get over Mike Rostenpour shooting a free throw and a fan, and it's kind of quiet. Goes, you're up.
Didn't they
effing P word?
Yeah, didn't they use the P word just in like you went to a Walmart and they said, "Oh, have a good day, P word."
Yeah. Where are you
Well,
from?
thanks for shopping. Thanks for shopping at Walmart, P word.
It was
National Kitten Day.
It was different now. Different. Now they're in the Missouri Valley Conference for football. But Mizzou football has got they got everything aligned at the right time. And they're in a good spot. Now they can't take a step back this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do take a step back, they've clearly suffered injuries because it sets up for them to get to the playoff. You win 9 football games in the SEC and the Big Ten, you are in the discussion.
Yeah.
And I think that actually, at the end of the day, will help college football because there'll be optimism. There will be some new teams that haven't gotten to experience the playoff that will actually have hope if we can just get to 9.
Yep.
If we can get to 9, we got a chance because we're in a conference that has a brand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It goes back to my top 25 theory. If you are in the top 25 when the calendar turns to November, you've got a shot. It puts a lot of that hope on programs that have not been the absolute workhorses or the constant blue bloods. No, I'm not going to use blue bloods. That's not the right way to do that.
Tom Selleck show. Well, that on CBS.
It was, yeah. Actually, that was.
He also disagreed.
Hey,
with
he
you
should
with
have
the
been.
shorts.
By the way, side note, Jack Elliott should have been in our the home run derby that we deserve discussion from the other day.
Well, if we ended up adding Hito because Connor wanted to. Then if we add Hito, we should have got a Jack Elliott.
Hito didn't have a last name though, unless Hito was his last name.
No, it wasn't.
Neither did Pele.
Touche.
Touche. And they're both the same, pretty much. But yeah, that's the great thing about where Nebraska had that going for so long with 9 wins. Is you were always wondering, okay, can you get over the hump with that 10th win or that win that means something that you're going to win the division and you're going to play in another conference championship game? Now it is essentially that drive to get to 9 wins. You don't have to be in, but to be part of the conversation for programs like Nebraska right now and what Missouri's shown to do, that is a huge jump right there.
Sean says Nebraska scheduled Cincinnati. They were still in the American. Granted, it was 2-for-1, but still. That whole series got wonky because I was so fired up. We would have had Fickle and Freeman playing in the COVID year in Lincoln because Cincinnati and Nebraska were going to play, and then the COVID wiped out the non-con.
Yeah.
And now that series has been adjusted where Nebraska is going to play Cincinnati at Lucas Oil. Here is the only non-Power 5 road game that I could get behind scheduled by Nebraska. And it has been brought up a couple of times, even by a couple of athletic directors, and remember, you're looking out for the fans and the experience. Bill Byrne really wanted to play Army.
That would
he
be cool.
wanted
Well,
he
yeah.
wanted Nebraska fans to experience a game at Army.
Go to West Point. That'd be sweet.
Come up the Hudson from the city.
Yeah.
But that would be the only non-Power 5 that I would get behind as a road game. I don't think Nebraska should ever go. Play non-Power 5s or now I guess non-Power 4s. But if you have to play away from Lincoln, play it in a neutral site.
Yep.
I mean, you're not taking a team out to go play in Pullman in a 35,000 seat stadium.
No kidding. Arrowhead needs to have another one. Arrowhead needs to have another Nebraska game.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little busy. I got the World Cup coming up. They got Kansas in there.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And they got a team that's pretty good that's playing in there.
And they got a Hallmark movie being shot there too.
And they got Morgan Wallen coming up on concert on August 1st.
Oh my gosh.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
You're going, aren't you?
Throwing chairs.
All right. It's 8:56. Quick break. Come back. Still ahead. Tyson Lewis, Brandon Vogel will join the show. 1620 The Zone. the scheduling philosophy for Mizzou. So next year they're on the road at Miami of Ohio. 27 they're on the road at San Diego State. 29 they go to DeKalb. They're playing in Northern Illinois.
What the?
Then in 2030 they're at North Texas.
Ooh, Mean Green.
They're at North Texas.
They play at North Texas.
Are they going to play that at Jerry's
But
World?
don't bury. They play at Northern Illinois in 2029.
Bad things can happen there.
Wow. By the way, if you're curious about Miami of Ohio's stadium, Yager Stadium is 30,000 capacity.
Does it come with Red Bull?
And it's looks like sideline to sideline seatings, no end zone seatings, no bowl. Yeah. You've probably seen that on your occasional Tuesday night in the fall. That's crazy.
This is another plea for Tennessee and Nebraska not to cancel the home and home.
If they're not canceling, they're at UMass or they're at Wyoming or they're at Miami of Ohio, then why can't Nebraska and Tennessee still play?
Exactly. I'm here for better games, better matchups, better experiences for fans than going to Oxford, Ohio. Omaha hockey fans can tell you it's not that pleasant. Who is pleasant and what a great opportunity. Tyson Lewis from Millard West, drafted by the Cincinnati Reds, 51st overall. He'll join us coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Actually, I didn't put that in there.
No, wrong show.
All right, welcome back in. Last hour on a Wednesday, and we talked to a state champion and now a guy that's very, very happy and gets to begin his professional career, former Millard West shortstop. Tyson Lewis joins us now after being drafted in the second round by the Cincinnati Reds. First of all, welcome to the show and congratulations.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I really appreciate having me on here this morning.
Hey, do you have scoreboard on your dad? I mean, he was only in the 18th round in 99. How many times since early this week have you let it be known that you're a second rounder?
I haven't got on him too much yet, but I think he knows that's kind of in the back of his head that I kind of got that on him for the rest of my life. So,
I know he's up in Northwoods right now, watching your other brother. So I think back to my experience with your dad, a hell of a player, two-way player at Creighton. He an amazing athlete out of the Valley area. But when you have that in your blood, I got to imagine there is a little sizing up when it comes to what you guys have done amongst each other, between your brother, between your dad, and a little bragging rights, right?
100%. There's competition in the little family a little bit because we're always around each other, always know what each other's doing. So yeah, there's definitely a competition there, and we kind of use that against each other a little bit.
Okay, walk us through this week. We're watching the draft. You're watching the draft. There's guys that are going off the board that you know that are high school guys, and you're waiting for your name, and you've been told a bunch of different things. Walk us through when the phone rings and it's the Reds on the other end of the line.
Yeah, I mean the phone took a while to ring for sure. That was kind of tough. I had to sit through 2-3 hours of draft, but yeah, I mean once I got the call from my agent and he let me know the Reds were taking me, and it was like the moment like of relief when I got that call, because I was getting a little worried there sitting there for so long, but I got that call and just massive sigh of relief. And yeah, it was the coolest call I've ever got in my life.
The presence of scouts at games, I think, is for high school baseball players, especially of your caliber. You've got a lot going on with just what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish individually and then as a team. And then you see guys, and you can always tell where they are. You can always tell who they are when you have scouts watching you. As someone who understands that this has a potential to be a career, what just that element of going through everyday game and having that other distraction there at any point, Tyson, did it become normal? Did it become just something you were easily able to phase out?
Well, I mean, for sure, at the start of the year, it was definitely abnormal, I would say. It was kind of like, I've never really had scouts come to my games before and just be there to watch me, so that was really different. But yeah, I mean, I'd say, 2-3 weeks into the year, it honestly just became like it was the everyday thing. That's just kind of how we played. And the team got used to it as well, because they were there literally every day. So it was either get used to it or just you feel out of your comfort zone all year and just kind of feel weird. So yeah, we all kind of rallied around it and felt really comfortable. And yeah, we realized they were going to be there all year, and there's not much we could do about it.
Hey, let's geek out a little bit, and you can brag and share the emotions. This has been kind of a fun end of your high school career. You play for a really good coach, really good program.
Yep.
Millard West gets revenge on Lincoln East, another great state championship game. So you win a state title. You're the Gatorade Player of the Year. You get drafted. This is over the course of a couple of months.
Yeah.
What's that like?
I mean, definitely been a little bit of a whirlwind, I would say. It's been a lot of things going on, but yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of great emotions. I've been super blessed, and I'm really, really thankful for where I'm at. And yeah, I mean, obviously winning state, that was just the cherry on top of the high school career. And then, Gatorade Player of the Year was awesome as well. And then the draft finally came around the corner. It's something I've been looking forward to, since about last fall. So it was really satisfying to have that kind of come to a good end. And now it's time to get going. So it's really cool.
Tyson, I want to go back to a question that Gary brought up about what you were experiencing on draft night and waiting for that call. You start to hear a lot of different numbers of this is where you could go. This is, what you could sign for, and all of that going on, to the point that if you maybe don't hit that highest number that you've been told, like you said, you're kind of sweating it out. You're waiting a little bit. Where does that to you when those conversations start of where you could go, where does that become a little bit more of this is my goal, but if I don't get there, I got to try to convince myself not to be disappointed, because at the end of the day, even if you didn't go to the highest number that you were talking about, or people were talking about you being slotted, you're still having an opportunity to play professional baseball going in the second round for an organization that has some pretty young, bright stars to their own right. Is there a tinge of just, okay, yeah, this is awesome. Now I have this experience, as opposed to, oh man, I thought I might go, say, 45th as opposed to 52nd.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow, because seeing all those mock drafts and everything, you see these different things, and guys are saying I'm going to go 32nd or something like that, and there are a lot of those. But I mean, I kind of had the sense going in that it was probably going to be a little different of a draft. Probably going to make some deals and probably go a little later. So I think I was kind of lucky in that regard, just knowing where I was going to end up, because my agent, we talked a lot before the draft, and he actually told me the Reds were really, really interested in me at that 51st pick. So I kind of had a little bit of knowledge that, yeah, if I was still on the board there at that point in the draft, I'd probably get selected by them. But I mean, yeah, it was definitely tough having to sit there forever, because my expectation was, I'm going to go as early as possible. I'm one of the best players in the draft. That's what my thoughts were, and having to sit there, seeing so many high school guys go was a little tough. But at the end of the day, you just gotta trust in it, and yeah, I just didn't lose faith, and yeah, so ended up in a good spot.
How comforting is it that your new scouting director believes that you can play shortstop long term, and they're not going to try and make you play another position?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's awesome. That's where I want to play short for the rest of my life. So I mean, that'd be really cool, and that's how I train now, is to be a shortstop at the next level. So I mean, I'm really grateful they're gonna allow me to have that opportunity, and I'm gonna try to make the most of it here.
You obviously didn't have a bad fallback plan. If for whatever reason didn't work, you're going to play college baseball, one of the best programs in the country. And I know this obviously checks the mark of a major, major goal. But in that elation, how tough was it to let Dave Van Horn in Arkansas know, hey, you know what, this is the route I'm going to go?
Yeah, it was really tough, especially because I've built up such a relationship with them over the last few years. And yeah, I mean, me and Coach Thompson, the recruiting coordinator, had made a really good connection. He actually he visited us for the draft, and just, yeah, it was just a really good talk. And so, yeah, having to pass that up was real hard, and I knew it was going to take a lot of money, just because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity that I'll never be able to get back. So yeah, it was tough saying no to them, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think what was best for me and what was best for my family was to sign with the Reds. So
you're the highest selected position player ever out of high school, and you're not only playing in the area, but you also play around the country. What is Tyson? What's the biggest misnomer that your play or other guys like Cale at Norris around your class? The biggest misnomer about Nebraska high school kids playing baseball that you think has been squashed around the country, or by your play or by what you say, you're able to say, no, that's not true?
I mean, yeah, I think nobody thinks we can really play with the East Coast, West Coast guys, because we're inside half the year, and those guys are playing all year round. So I think that's a pretty big misconception. Everyone thinks, you got to go to the West Coast to find good baseball. You got to go to the East Coast down in Georgia to find good ball. I don't think that's true. I think, like the Omaha metro area is really, really, really talented. And, I think that kind of shows off, in state tournament, Class A baseball. There's so many commits, so many guys going, Division I schools, Division II. It's a really loaded area. And I think, I think the draft this year kind of showed that off, me and Cale going, and yeah, there's a crap ton of talent out here for sure.
I know your father. Peyton is probably one of the most competitive people I've been around when I coached. Even keeping him out of drills that we were actually coaching our players was always kind of tough, because he wanted to be a part of that and show them how they needed to do it. But that influence from Peyton, who I know has been very supportive to you in this process as well, but understanding what he also went through as a guy that played big time high school baseball, and what he was able to do, then go to Creighton and then being drafted. How much of his path, his experience was helpful just in this whole process for you too?
Yeah, it was massive. Obviously, like this fall and this winter is when the professional stuff kind of started ramping up, and then obviously I was leaning on him a ton for his experiences, and his experience in 1999 is a little different than it is now, but it's still kind of the same, kind of thing. He let me understand like that baseball is a grind, professional baseball is a grind, and not for the faint of heart. So he goes like, yeah, you got to love it. And he goes, you're absolutely the type of kid that will thrive in that environment. And he's really supportive of me and was excited for me to kind of take that next step. But yeah, he was huge in that just because, I was going through the same process that he kind of went through when he got drafted.
Hey, do you play fantasy football?
I do not. No,
Dang.
I do not.
Because do you like motivational things on shirts? Wear those or anything like that?
Maybe not on shirts and stuff, but like maybe on my phone, I'll say a motivational video or two.
All right, because you've given a lot of people some motivation here with a crap ton of talent that we have in Nebraska. I think that'd be a great fantasy football name.
A crap ton of talent.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. What's the next step here? When are you taking us to go when you get the big signing at Great American Ballpark? You get to take BP with Ellie De La Cruz. When are we going to do that?
So I'll be flying out here in the next few days or so. I still have to kind of get everything figured out, but they got to sign everybody in their class before anything kind of happens. But yeah, next few days I'll be flying out, signing my contract, and then get the professional career started. So yeah, it's exciting time.
Who's your favorite Red of all time?
I love Brandon Phillips a few years ago, actually.
Okay. Good call.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. I loved him. I actually had his glove for a few years. So yeah, I used to like him.
Oh, he was popular in Cincinnati. That'll be a good one to bring up.
Yeah, for sure. He had a little bit of swag, and I love that. So
nice. Well, you play the same way. Hey, congratulations! Great honor for you and the family, the Millard West program. It's been a nice run of guys being drafted out of Steve's program, and we can't wait to watch your progress. And in a couple of years, back in your hometown, playing out at Warner Park as a visitor.
Absolutely. Yeah, really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Tyson. That's Tyson Lewis, drafted 51st overall, second round by the Cincinnati Reds. He's the highest high school position player to be drafted out of the state of Nebraska. Was going to go to Arkansas. Had to tell Dave, no.
Yeah,
I got a crap ton of talent that the Reds like.
Dave knows there's a crap ton of talent in the state of Nebraska. If anybody in the SEC does.
So Cale Fountain from Norris was going to go to LSU. He got drafted in the 5th round by the Padres. He's signed. Two guys that did not get drafted, so it's not all bad, Jimmy. Drew Christo and Gabe Swanson didn't get drafted.
Right.
Both are coming back to Nebraska.
Yep. And I think when we talked to Evan, I think the Drew Christo part of it was a little bit more uncertain, maybe. Gabe Swanson, you felt like what he did at the end of the year was probably still not going to put him in a position to where it was going to be worth it for him to go. But Gabe Swanson was one of those guys at the end of last year, too, that I thought when we talked about replacing the production of a Max Anderson and Bryce as well, that Gabe Swanson could be one of those guys that was going to have to step up. And again, between injuries and just trying to find a regular spot in the lineup, now with the momentum that he ends the season with, this is going to be a great opportunity for him, I think, especially kind of taking the path, even though they play different positions of what Josh Caron was able to do. And Drew Christo, another year under Rob Childress and being able to really refine those mechanics and all those little things that you saw big jumps from this year too. I think those are two guys this time next year we definitely could be talking about, though, playing at the next level if they can avoid an injury and continue on the trajectory that we saw from them this year. But going back real quickly to Cale Fountain and Tyson, two guys that were going to play big time SEC baseball. This is the crap ton of talent thing aside. You and I have advocated for baseball in this state anytime we have the opportunity to do so. That right there speaks on its own. Two guys, one is going to play at Arkansas, a national champion contender, and the other is going to play at LSU, national champion contender. They're not going to be playing there because they got drafted high enough to where it makes a lot of sense for them to begin their professional journey. Those are two Nebraska kids right there.
You think Dave Van Horn will stop recruiting Nebraska? Because it seems like all the Nebraska kids he gets drafted.
Yeah, he's trying to get the best ones. Like, sorry, man. I
can't. Harrison Kryling from UNO, who was a West Side guy. Yep. He got drafted in the 17th round. And then Nolan Clifford is part of a trivia question. Yep. He is the 40th player drafted under Ed's service. He goes in the 17th round to Colorado. Yep. So he was a senior, was not going to come back. But he is off to play with Charlie Condon.
Mm-hmm.
Be in the outfield together.
Yeah.
Some of
Never
these
played
guys
against each other, though.
So like Charlie Condon goes to the Rockies. Next year on the Omaha Stormchasers schedule, they will have a couple of series of crossover with the PCL.
Oh, nice.
So you have in the AAA, you have the International League, which the Stormchasers are in, that has the majority of the teams. And then there are mainly West Coast teams or Oklahoma City, Round Rock, or in the PCL. They're going to have a couple of series that are crossover next year.
I miss the old Oklahoma. Even going to Bricktown to even
Oklahoma City 89ers.
Yeah. Is that what they're called now?
Now they're the Dodgers.
Okay. They were the Diamond. What the hell were they at one point? Jesus. They've gone through so many different names there. This is the last time that I would have been to Bricktown was actually to see an Oklahoma City.
Were they Red Hawks?
That's it. The
I
Red Hawks.
But
That's,
then they dropped
who
City and they were just Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're
right?
the Oklahoma Red Hawks. I used to have a T-shirt when we went there to watch them. And a person who his mom wasn't
Why
heckling.
do you say you know his
No,
mom?
you don't. Maybe you know his mom. I don't know. But you know him.
I'm not always attracted to moms.
His mom was
like no moms.
Was heckling / hitting on a left fielder when we were at the game. Fun little story there.
Now, why would I know his mom?
I'm not saying you know his mom. You know him.
Do I have history with mom?
No.
Do I have history with the kid?
Yeah, you know him.
Well, what's his name?
He's out in Colorado now. Out in Denver.
In our business?
Yeah. I'm just going to leave it at that. Because there may or may not have been a couple of adult cocktails being flowing through our parent group.
Wow, Mrs.
She wasn't the only one.
Yeah, it usually is that way. That's what they always say. It's not just one. It's a couple of people that are involved.
Yep.
There are accessories.
If one's doing it, chances are there's about 2 or 3 that are following.
Yeah, that's kind of life. Brandon Vogel's still to come on Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. right, Brandon Vogel coming up before we are through. Garrett McGuire spoke last night, spoke highly of some, forgot about others. We won't forget, never forget. We'll talk to Brandon coming up here in a little bit. So watching, it wasn't just the All-Star game. This has been a commercial that's been going on for a while.
Jardians?
No, and not fake Ozempic.
That's all that I took from last night. Love me some baseball, and apparently she's got all these diseases.
That can be cured with a shot.
With a shot, but then the side effects are like, I don't want that shot. Warning. This may cause this, and you're still alive after the shot. Hey,
so I'm not.
good on you.
I'm afraid to lose weight because I want to lose it naturally, but I don't want people to go, "Hey, you got the shot?" I'm like, "No, man, I work out."
Or just people coming by and going, "Oh,
4 years ago."
I go over to my well for my doctor. I don't want to lose weight because I want people going, "Hey, are you on the shot?" But watching this commercial, finally it came to a head last night as I was watching the commercial. You guys are familiar with Chipotle, right?
Very much so, yes.
Quite well.
Okay.
I like a good burrito bowl.
Damn, that sounds good.
In the commercial, the people that are working there are clean.
Yeah.
They have long sleeve shirts.
Mm-hmm.
The counter is clean.
They take pride in cutting up the chicken.
It looks very, very calm.
You're scaring me.
Yes.
That commercial can't be as far from reality as possible.
What?
When was the last time you went into a Chipotle?
It's been calm.
And it's been calm. Where the workers are like long sleeve shirts, really, really cleaned up.
And actually pay attention to the customer, not the DoorDash guys?
Yeah. Which that's a whole nother show.
It is.
Still looks better than the All-Star uniform.
That commercial is so far from reality because any Chipotle that I've been in is just absolute chaos. Now, I get it. There are some of you that want your restaurant to look like season 3 of The Bear. I want my restaurant to look like season 1.
I do too. I want some profanity and a lot of yelling of cousin.
But now that every time I watch that commercial, I go, liar.
Oh, yeah.
Liar. When was the last time you commercial person have been in a actual store?
Yeah. Where, unless that Chipotle is in, I don't know, give me the most boring state you could think of where it'd be really, really calm and just not a lot going on.
Vermont?
Yeah, there you go.
Colorado?
Where everybody's just chill.
Yes.
For other reasons. Yeah, maybe it's a Colorado one where everyone's just,
you just want a bowl
of
sour
peace with
cream,
everybody.
I saw a commercial. I'm like,
tortillas and sour cream. Okay.
Liar. That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
Liar.
The guy taking pride in cutting the chicken or preparing the chicken every day. He's like, heck no. This is my life.
I used to pretend to do this when
really
I was a kid.
Isn't.
Hey, but I'm glad you brought up the Uber driver. And now those places do a little bit better job of they have you just come in and you pick up your order.
Yeah.
So you don't jump in front of a customer who's been waiting in line that decided to get out of their car and you know what? Come there and get food in the place. But I got bumped last week at a place. I will not name it because I like it. I'm going to continue to go back.
We're talking about a place I got bumped with.
But I got bumped by an Uber driver or Uber Eats that came in, and I was standing there, made eye contact. I think with the manager, they were wearing a different colored shirt, and he took the Uber Eats person because they had their phone out.
Yep.
And I was like,
time is money.
I was like, brother, we might have to have some speaks, but man, I love your food, so I can't leave. You got me by the.
Yeah.
But it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think we really, us non-Uber Eats people that go inside of an establishment and stand there and look at the board and then make a decision and then wait a little bit longer with strangers as we stare at our phone. We need to stand up against this because it is a growing trend that is really going to harm the experience of restaurantism. Thank you.
I have no problem saying we're talking about a place where I've gotten bumped.
Give it to
me.
Give it to me.
Twice, Gary, at a Chipotle. Twice.
Oh.
It's
you got to go to Qdoba because they have a cordon off section where you just come in and you grab your bag.
I might have
This is
to
why
Qdoba now.
This is on me. I still go back to Chipotle because I do. I like their food, but I got bumped because they were running behind, and then the DoorDash and the Uber Eats people were also waiting in line, and they were getting very impatient. Vocally impatient, And it became a conversation amongst all of us waiting, where I heard one lady tell another person that she was told her order was ready 45 minutes ago. And so she hustled on over, and this was a normal customer. She just ordered her food online, and she hustled on over and had been waiting there for 45 minutes after she was told that it was ready for you to pick up. And so I was getting ready to get all pissy about 20 minutes, and I hear her at 45. I'm like, boy, this puts it into perspective. But there was like 8 people that were in the same boat, and we're watching all the Uber Eats and all of the DoorDash people come in and out and in and out. This wasn't that long ago, by the way.
Oh, you're triggering me.
This was in the spring.
I don't do patience.
And then I thought, oh, it was after our show one of these days where I just felt like Chipotle. I had to run an errand over at Lowe's. Chipotle's right there. Now you're knowing the area I'm talking about. Went in thinking it was like a Wednesday or Thursday around 11. This should be fine. I'm just going to go in there.
Walk in, it's Cinco de Mayo.
There were 3 of us. Yeah, that was it, 3 of us. And then all of a sudden, 2 DoorDash / Uber people came in the middle of taking the person behind me's order. They stopped and they accommodated them. I was like, y'all need to do something about this.
What else would you like?
This is all within, by the way, guys, the last 3 months.
It's a trend.
Figure it out.
I don't like the trend. Curtis says Wendy's leads the pack in commercial employees not being unrealistic.
That is true.
Everyone is so nice and clean and not 16 years old in those.
It's so true. And they're really excited. They get into rhymes. You know, I'm the fry guy. Like, I want to go to that Wendy's where those people work.
It's Reggie Bush here.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt Leinart at one point was
Reggie Miller
hanging out at Wendy's.
Hey, I haven't been there.
Yeah, Reggie Miller, Reggie Bush.
I haven't been there in a couple of years, and I'm actually surprised it's still open. But the on center across the Burger King across the street from Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, what, 52nd and Center.
Yeah.
The people talk crazy to each other in there while there are customers.
But you said this is what you want.
Season 1 of The Bear.
Yeah.
Well,
actually sounds nice.
I was like, okay, that's interesting. I would love the commercial that would be done about that establishment.
Yeah. I had an interesting experience at a Popeyes in Millard this last year, where again it was more the conversation amongst the employees.
Yeah, those.
I had no problem with it because things were getting done, but I'm just sitting back. They do not care what we hear. They do not care what we hear, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Sounds like home to me.
Well, I think we're more attracted to restaurants that look like season 1 of The Bear until season 3. Maybe that's why overwhelmingly we didn't like season 3 because we didn't recognize it.
So I did finish it, by the way. Yeah, you're right.
See, I wanted 8 more episodes.
The last
starting to
episode
get
was
stuff.
okay. It was okay, but everything leading up to that was like, I'm glad he finally got to confront the old chef, and his message to him was like, "Huh, I don't think about you." And it was like,
been told that before.
Yeah. But yes, back to the original part of this discussion. I like, hey, if things are getting done in a timely manner and the food's good, chaos the crap out of it. I don't care.
Hey, don't waterhole yourself. Look, at waterhole used to be a dive, but it was a great dive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all of a sudden said, we got to clean it up. So they cleaned up the 20 years of chicken wings that were under the boots.
They mopped the floor.
Now, RIP.
I want to hear when I'm walking on the floor.
That was Brothers in Lawrence.
Not just normal. Well, I can't hear my shoes squeaking or sticking.
All right. Brandon Vogel from counterread.com will join us next. They do a commercial, and it is what it is. You get to see Brandon in all of his glory, and you're like, oh, that's who he is.
It's controlled chaos.
I have never been to a Chipotle where there are people wearing long sleeve shirts.
Now I feel like I got to go just on, show research.
Or it's calm. It is.
Or they're acknowledging you.
Hello, sir.
They do throw the chaos balls up in the air a little bit, that place. But somehow they get it done and you get your order.
Oh, do you?
After you beat down the Uber Eats guy.
Yeah. That's when you just got to pose as an Uber Eats guy.
Maybe you ought to try Qdoba because they do have a separate section.
And then they'll charge extra for something.
Or next time, just go in there with your phone out like you're looking at an order to
That's
be picked
what
up.
I thought.
Sir, what do you need? I'm sorry. Hey, you 20 people. Hold on. Sir, what do you need? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just responding to a text.
I just want a nice steak burrito, please. White, black beans.
Let's see. Charles says he wants this.
Extra sour cream.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
We're back with more after this at 1620 The Zone. All right, talking season, week number 2. Big Ten gets week number 3, and we get our Wednesday friend from counterread.com, Brandon Vogel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, let's start with pass catchers because Garrett McGuire was on the network last night. Aaron Sorensen, if you subscribe to counterread.com, you got a Garrett McGuire story today. The quarterback play will be better. Will there be anybody else on offense that benefits more from Dylan Raiola than Jalen Lloyd?
Maybe. I mean, it's tough to say Fedoni because he had a pretty good year and seemed to have specifically a good connection with Harburg. But I would expect him to get a ton of touches. I think Lloyd probably leads the way. I kind of look at Lloyd and Malachi Coleman as maybe one receiver combined. And if you do that with their numbers from last year, all of a sudden you've got a pretty good number 3 receiver. We'll see how much Nebraska throws the ball in 2024. I suspect it will be more often than it did in 2023. It'd almost be hard not to. And there should be more yards and more catches to spread around. So I think those 2 freshmen in Lloyd and Coleman would be 1 and 2 on my list on who benefits most from a Dylan Raiola.
The other part, and I know we have discussed this, and I think you and I have had this conversation as well, of the Thomas Fedoni effect of who it impacts more when it comes to Dylan or Thomas Fedoni. And I feel like you can make a case for both there, but do you have a heavier lean of who impacts the other?
Yeah, I think it's probably 52%, 48% one way or the other. You could say there were probably some opportunities missed with Fedoni, even though he, like I said, he had a really good season and was really reliable for Nebraska. So maybe that does shade more towards he can be kind of a safe option, a veteran player, in the way that Nebraska on the outside with Naor and Banks got veteran guys. They just haven't been at Nebraska. So I think maybe it shades a little bit towards Raiola will get the better end of that deal, but I still think it probably bumps Fedoni's ceiling up a little bit higher just by Raiola being here.
Hey, isn't an X factor in everything that you do and everything we talk about? We really don't know an exact percentage of benefit, but just simple ball placement is going to benefit a Jalen Lloyd or a Fedoni or anybody that's going to be on the receiving end, right?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think the bigger one will be, Nebraska in terms of passing explosiveness, we saw some of it. Some of it was by design with some of the run action stuff that they did. We saw some of those plays, saw a handful from Lloyd. But I think way more than the deep ball, because there's different arm talent, different arm strength. But for the most part, guys can throw the ball down there and hope something good happens. It'll be on the intermediate stuff. It'll be on when Nebraska chooses to throw on first down. And I think, when you look at the spring game, whether you did it live like we all did, or you went back and watched it, that's what stood out to be more, or kind of lasted longer than a lot of other things with what Raiola was able to do was he put some balls right where they needed to be in tough windows. And that was missing almost entirely for Nebraska in 2023 for much of the year.
I want to ask you this question because, and I'm just basing this off of last year's numbers, hoping that there is improvement. The number of 177 yards per game on the ground is probably something obviously you would love to have again, but if you see that average of 136 yards passing a game go up, maybe closer to essentially what their opponents had on Nebraska, around the 210 to 230 range, is there a number that you feel confident? Let's just throw out Nebraska's averaging 235 passing yards a game, which would be a huge jump from last year. Is there a number that you could still look at Nebraska, what they're averaging on the ground, not to the 176 number? How far below it do you think it could be where you're still feeling really good about what the offense is doing?
Maybe 160. If you were doing that 160 pretty efficiently, and Raiola and the pass catchers and the offensive line, which is a piece of this too, they were strong, I thought, in the run game for the most part. They were stronger in the run game than they were in pass protection last year. Um, so if you had, some fewer carries, you bump your yards per attempt up. I think 160. I'd have a hard time seeing it go below that, just because we know they want to run the football, and they always will. I think last year was as good an example of that as any. Um, and that puts you, right at about 400 yards a game, which is kind of what it takes to be, I think, about an average offense at 28, 30 points a game. And if Nebraska gets there, and the defense would have to fall off a cliff to give up 28, 30 points a game based on what they have back from a defense that they had last year. So I think it could be right there, like 235, 160. If you could sign up for that right now, I think you would have a chance to have the season a lot of Husker fans hope Nebraska can have.
Hey, there's Nebraska has more. They have the wide receiver depth like they had in Bo's last couple of years, and probably it's been a while since people have been this excited about a wide receiver group at Nebraska. And I think, quarterback aside, this is the position group that they have most improved. It helped to have two guys at the tops in Banks and Naor, add a couple of freshmen, a couple of guys that last year didn't have good quarterback play with them will be better. What kind of a year? And with that said, you know what last year was like. Tight ends, wide receivers were average, Brandon. We expect them to be better this year. Alex Bullock had 599 snaps last year. That by far was the most of any wide receiver. It was 257 more than Billy Kemp, who got injured. Alex Bullock's role this year in a deeper room looks like what?
Well, I mean, in some cases, Nebraska was running out of options at wide receiver. That said, like he legitimately earned his way, I think, into that top group and showed he was a reliable guy, a guy who could stay on the field. So in a lot of ways, you would expect his numbers to come down with the depth that Nebraska has. But I view him as a pretty good candidate for a guy that we're not talking about much right now, even though you just asked me about him. So good job there. Because he's kind of on a free roll. Like he worked to get into the rotation. Nebraska lost a lot of wide receivers, so that the opportunity kind of increased for him. Might have been too much too fast when you talk about some of those snap counts. But he's a guy who can play. He proved he can play at a Big Ten level last year. And it wasn't like spectacular, but it was a really strong season. So when you think about guys like that and kind of running players in and out, which every coaching staff says they want to do, but I think Nebraska at multiple positions, and they have the team to do it, or the players to do it at wide receiver, has that opportunity. The receiving numbers could get really interesting this year on an individual basis.
Matt Rule's talked about him, and Garrett McGuire has too, and they've talked about him enough to where I want to get your opinion on how big of a factor it is in that room, and that's Elliott Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rule has been very effusive about kind of the off the field role that he plays. Like, I think he's almost like somebody who, when he's done, like, it would be not a surprise to see him immediately like just become a GA. It kind of feels like he's already filling a GA role, and injuries have kind of made that the best way for him at times in his career, at different times in his career. So he's essential. I think just having those guys that can build camaraderie in a room, particularly, and I think it's going to be this way at wide receiver a lot. With transfer, it's one of the positions where I think you can always feel good about getting contributors. That's not the case everywhere else. So you're going to have rooms that need some glue. And I think Brown definitely represents that for Nebraska.
Next week, Big Ten Media Days. The first question to Matt Rule that is not from a local guy, it's from a national guy. It will be geared towards what question?
Probably will be geared towards, I think it'll be about the offseason, hype, for lack of a better term, maybe folded into, his history at Temple and Baylor. I think that'll be probably the dominant storyline from outside the Nebraska media circle. It'll be a chance for the Dennis Dodds of the world to, ask about some of that stuff that has emerged during the offseason as Nebraska being somewhat trendy. Locally, I would expect there'll be, some questions about the change in secondary coach. That'll be a big one. But it gets pretty nuts and bolts, when you work into minute 25, 30, 40 with the head coach, and it's mostly the local guys left standing. So, but that's good. It's been a while since we've had that opportunity.
Hey, could he get away, not just saying it directly, but could he get away with, yeah, I understand 24 and we're excited and we just want to be playing football in December, but could he get away in a rule-ism by saying, guys, 24 is going to set up 25. Look at our quarterback. And also 3 of our 8 portal transfers are seniors. So 5 guys are here that are going to play more than 1 year. You want to talk about breakthrough, wait till 25, but 24 sets up 25. Can he say that?
I mean, he said a version of that in the interview with Joel Klatt. I don't know. I think he's right about that, but I think it takes too much focus away from the most immediate task. Like I would have a harder. I think that plays worse locally than it would nationally. Would be the difference with that. So in a setting where everybody's there, that story probably gets written 10 different times by 10 different outlets. I think it becomes a little bit tougher than saying it on a podcast in early July.
Okay. What do we got coming up? And by the way, if people did not see the Monday edition, the stock market game is fantastic. You and Aaron are hard at work. Media days next week. What to look forward to all the great subscribers at counterread.com or the future one that is a must-have as we get into the season?
Yeah, so by the time we get to next week, we'll have plenty coming from Big Ten Media Days. Aaron's been working on an Olympic story for a couple of months. I think that'll go next week. So can look forward to that as well for tomorrow for Counter Read subscribers. I'm finally doing the type of deep dive I tend to do on John Butler and kind of what we can find out about him from as a coach, based primarily on kind of the numbers his teams have put up. Say this. Pretty encouraging, particularly those NFL years. So it'll be interesting to kind of talk through, I think, what his most immediate challenges might be, but what he might also add to Nebraska as an unexpected hire. Making a hire in July is not part of the plan, but I think Nebraska did pretty well.
I've heard that he isn't going to play favorites, that they're going to separate the guys that want to work against the guys that are just here for a little cup of coffee. I think he's gonna be hard on that room in the first month to see who's good to go and who's not. That's the word on the street. But I'm with you, and I can't wait to see your deep dive into John Butler. Brandon, as always, we always appreciate it. Have a great week.
You too, guys. Thanks a lot.
It's Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. We will have plenty to discuss in the lead up to Big Ten Media Days next week in Indianapolis.
3 fun days. And a St. Elmo's trip. Not by us.
No.
Don't even get to go to White Castle.
But you can go to Chipotle. Or a baseball game. Or a convenience store where you can try to save a life.
America would be better if we had more standalone White Castles.
I wish we had a White Castle here.
Wonder if they'll mention that tonight in Milwaukee. For Jimmy, for Nick, the crossover is coming up next. I'm Gary. We'll see you in 20 hours.